Chapter 1364. Swoosh. Several gusts of wind blew past, and the Holy Gate's disciples who were originally standing below the stage all stood on the stage. Wei Changming and the rest didn't even have time to react as they were shocked by the strength of the Holy Gate's disciples. However, the Sacred Gate disciples were shocked by Munmorn in Qin Feng's hand. It's really a rare pink equipment and a spiritual sword. Our White Warehouse sect happens to be a sword sect. This spiritual sword is mine. A man in his early 40s reached out to grab the spiritual sword in Qin Feng's hand. He was Xie Long, a disciple of White Warehouse sect. However, before he could grab the spiritual sword, Sun Dao stopped him with a palm. Xie Long, what do you mean by this? I found this spiritual sword first. Sun Dao's face was cold. This was a rare pink equipment. How could he give it to others? The two were quarreling fiercely when Ling Yun'er also reached out. Qin Feng dodged to the side. Ling Yun'er's expression changed drastically. She actually snatched nothing? You're a warrior? How could you dodge me? Ling Yun'er glared at Qin Feng with a cold face. The situation was suddenly about to fight. Hua Xiaojin was so scared that she didn't know what to do. Sun Dao and Xie Long saw that the Spirit Beast sect people also had their eyes on the spiritual sword. The two immediately stopped and blocked Ling Yun'er from both sides. What are you doing? Ling Yun'er glared at the two angrily. Xie Long said, Junior sister Yun'er, this spiritual sword is mine. I advise you not to have any ideas about it. Sun Dao immediately rebuked. Xie Long, do you have any shame? That spirit sword is clearly mine. The two went from fighting to bickering, but Ling Yun'er couldn't snatch it openly anymore. Among the three, Xie Long was the strongest. He had stepped into the 5th stage of true qi. Ling Yun'er and Sun Dao were both at the 4th stage of true qi. The three of them each brought 3 disciples, but they were all at the 2nd or 3rd stage of true qi. Seeing that the 3 forces were about to fight, Hua Xiaojin and the others were anxious. Qin Feng, on the other hand, wanted to laugh. He deliberately took out Munmorn to incite the disciples of the 3 sects to fight. The 3 quarreled for a long time, but there was no result. According to the strength of the scene, Xie Long could kill the people from the other 2 sects and snatch the spiritual sword. But if he did that, it would definitely cause a war between the 2 sects, and that would not be worth it. White Song faction, Red Sun faction, you'd better back off. I'm here on behalf of the Spirit Beast sect. If there's any discord, the Spirit Beast sect won't spare your sects. Ling Yun'er had lost her patience. In front of a rare pink spiritual sword, she directly brought out her backer. Sun Dao and Xie Long's expressions turned cold, but they didn't retort for a while. There were 3 sacred sects in distant Ice City, which were the White Song sect, the Red Sun sect, and the Spirit Beast sect. However, the Spirit Beast sect was the strongest. Even if the White Song sect and the Red Sun sect joined forces, they might not be a match for the Spirit Beast sect. Ehe. There's no need for the 3 of you to quarrel. I'll keep this spiritual sword for myself for now. After this expedition to the battlefield, I'll give this sword to whoever kills the most enemies. Qin Feng suddenly opened his mouth. Ling Yun'er and the other 2 looked at him. They almost forgot that this spiritual sword actually belonged to Qin Feng. Seeing Qin Feng casually take out a pink spiritual sword, Sun Dao's attitude toward him changed a little. He said in a calm tone, County Magistrate Xiao, do you have any other spiritual weapons? Where did you get that spiritual sword? Sun Dao's question also hit the bottom of Ling Yun'er and Xie Long's hearts. As sacred sect's disciples, it was rare for them to see a blue-grade spiritual weapon. Most of them used white or orange-grade spiritual weapons. However, Qin Feng, a mere county magistrate, actually got his hands on a rare pink-grade spiritual weapon? It was simply unimaginable. I have a few spiritual weapons with me. These spiritual weapons are of similar quality. They're all antiques that I've collected from all over the years when I was the county magistrate. Later on, I found out that some of these antiques are spiritual weapons, so I've been keeping them. Qin Feng casually made up an excuse, but Ling Yun'er and the other 2 were dumbfounded. Qin Feng said he had a lot of spiritual weapons with similar quality. Didn't that mean that he had a lot of rare pink-grade spiritual weapons? Ling Yun'er and the other 2's eyes lit up. They couldn't wait to kidnap Qin Feng on the spot and force him to hand over all his spiritual weapons. However, the three of them didn't make a move in the end. They were apprehensive of Qin Feng's power. Good, very good. County Magistrate Xiao. I like your character very much. Can we be friends? Sun Dao, who was arrogant and despotic just a moment ago, and even wanted Qin Feng to kneel and beg for mercy, now looked like he was trying to curry favor with Qin Feng. As soon as he finished speaking, Xie Long came up to Qin Feng and cupped his fist. County Magistrate Xiao, I'm Xie Long, a disciple of White Barn sect. If County Magistrate Xiao wants to join the Holy Gate, I can bring you back to White Barn sect. Both of them started to curry favor with Qin Feng. Their target was the rare pink-grade spiritual weapon. Ling Yun clenched her teeth in anger. She stood up and said, County Magistrate Xiao, White Barn sect and Red Sun sect are nothing. The stability and prosperity of Distant Ice City depends on our Spirit Beast sect. If County Magistrate Xiao is willing to give me all his spiritual weapons, I'll report this to the elders when I return to the sect. By then, it won't be difficult for County Magistrate Xiao to be promoted to a prefecture governor or even a city governor. The three of them threw out generous bait, and Hua Xiaojun was dizzy. Wei Changming's eyes almost popped out of his head. He started to regret the plan he had arranged with his father. As for Wang Long, Li Hu, and the others who were standing outside the door, they were completely speechless. They thought this Qiao guy was too lucky. Why did he have people fawn over him wherever he went? Hee. All three of you are experts from the Holy Gate. This is putting me in a difficult position. I believe that no matter which party I give the spiritual weapons to, the other two parties will bear a grudge against me. If that's the case, I'll keep the spiritual weapons for now and look at them in the future. What Qin Feng said was the truth. Ling Yun, and the others couldn't refute him. The three of them looked at each other coldly, but they didn't force Qin Feng to take out his spiritual weapons. After all, no one was willing to give in. Even if Qin Feng took out his rare pink-grade spiritual weapons, they would still have to fight it out. County Magistrate Xiao, will do as you say. The three of them finally retreated and sat in their seats absent-mindedly. They were thinking of ways to take away Qin Feng's spiritual weapons. Qin Feng sat in the hall, while Hua Xiaojun carefully fanned him from behind. Wei Changming was still in a daze. He thought Xiao was going to be tortured to death by the seniors from the Holy Gate. In the end, he became the treasure that the Holy Gate fought over. Unfilial son, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and pour some tea for the guests. Qin Feng rolled his eyes at Wei Changming, and Wei Changming instantly snapped out of his daze. He was so angry that his face turned ashen. All his life, he was used to serving others. When had he ever served others like a servant? However, Wei Changming didn't dare to disobey these experts from the Holy Gate. At that time, Qin Feng didn't even need to make a move. These people would kill him with a single slap. The situation was stabilized by Qin Feng. Wei Changming was busy pouring tea for everyone, but Qin Feng treated him like air. He said to the people from the Holy Gate, My friends, everyone came from afar. I believe it's for the war, right? Logically speaking, a county magistrate status was nothing in front of a Holy Gate disciple. The county magistrate spoke with great caution, and the Holy Gate disciples were cold and indifferent to him. But now that they knew Qin Feng had many rare pink-grade spiritual weapons, Ling Yun, and the others fought to speak to Qin Feng first. They wanted to get closer to him. County Magistrate Xiao, we are indeed here for the war. Sun Dao interrupted, and his face was flushed with excitement. Xie Long added, Now that the war between Distant Ice City and Meteor City is at hand, the Holy Gate sent us here to mobilize the government forces. If there are no mistakes, we will set off in 3 days, Ling Yun'er added. Actually, the war between the two cities depends on the strength of the Holy Gate. Our Distant Ice City is led by the Spirit Beast sect, and the Red Sun sect and the White Song sect are supporting. Meteor City is led by Ji Chen, and the Moonfall Spring sect and the Cloud Volcano sect are supporting. Based on the strength of the sects, they are evenly matched. This will be a tough battle. Ling Yun'er belittled the White Song sect and the Red Sun sect in front of everyone. Sun Dao and Xie Long were infuriated, but they didn't retort because what Ling Yun'er said was the truth. Qin Feng had heard of all these sects, and he had even killed their disciples. Now, he felt somewhat fortunate that he had used the 100 transformation mask to change his appearance when he entered the extinction sect. Otherwise, if he were to bump into Ling Yun with his current appearance, there would definitely be a fierce battle. After the three of them explained the situation, Qin Feng understood a lot about the war between the two cities. Meteor City and Distant Ice City were separated by a mountain. The size, power, and development of the two cities were about the same. Therefore, the Saint Gates of both cities were eyeing each other's cities. If they could merge the two cities, their power would be more than doubled. Qin Feng didn't have a good impression of the extinction sects. Not long ago, he had tortured all of them in the outside world. Now that the two cities were at war, Qin Feng suddenly had an idea. He could let them fight to the death, and then he could reap the benefits. Alright, I will issue an announcement later to gather the young adults of West Town and the three villages to wait for the war. At this point, Qin Feng sent Wang Long and Li Hu away to deal with the business. Ling Yun, and the others were arranged to rest in their rooms. Wei Changming was still in a daze. When he saw that Qin Feng seemed to have connections with the Holy Gate, he was extremely jealous. He even thought that if his father hadn't left, maybe he and his father could have taken this opportunity to become the Holy Gate's disciples. Qin Feng stayed in his room for the whole afternoon. Although he used the 100 transformation mask to change his appearance to Qiao Feng, some of his habitual actions were not easy to change. Now that his strength had not recovered, it was better to keep a low profile and be cautious. However, when he just finished dinner, Ling Yun came looking for him. County Magistrate Qiao, are you free tonight? I want to invite you to my room for a chat. Ling Yun had changed out of the training clothes she wore in the afternoon. She was wearing a tight cheongsam skirt that perfectly outlined her curvaceous figure. She seemed to have some light makeup on her face, and her beauty was outstanding. Chapter 1365. Qin Feng wasn't afraid of this woman. Back then, he was in a hurry to enter the Despair sect, so he neglected to guard against her. Now that Qin Feng was constantly on guard, Ling Yun was nothing to him. Yo! Beautiful Yun, you look so beautiful tonight. Qin Feng looked like a pig as he stared fixedly at Ling Yun's breasts. A cold light flashed in Ling Yun's eyes, but she smiled and said, Magistrate Qiao, you're making fun of me. Why don't we go to my room and have a drink with Magistrate Qiao? Hua Xiaozhen was unhappy that young Master Qiao was charmed by that vixen. She secretly tugged on Qin Feng's arm, and looked at him with a wronged expression. Qin Feng glared at Hua Xiaozhen and said, Do you have any sense? Hurry up and leave. I want to chat with beautiful Yun for the whole night. Hua Xiaozhen's tears started to form, but she didn't say a word and walked out with her head lowered. Ling Yun originally wanted to trick Qin Feng into going to her room, but when she saw this man's impatient expression, Ling Yun suppressed the anger in her heart. However, before she obtained the spiritual weapon, she couldn't explode. Haha! Magistrate Qiao, you're really tall and sturdy. Let this little girl toast you. Ling Yun poured a glass of wine for Qin Feng, but in a split second, she put some knockout drug in it. If this was done in front of an ordinary person, they would definitely not be able to see it. However, how could she see through Qin Feng's sharp eyes? Qin Feng pretended not to see anything. When he received the glass of wine, he purposely touched Ling Yun's lily-white hand, deliberately angering this woman. Haha! This young master is very happy to be able to drink and chat with a great beauty like Yun. Ling Yun was so angry that she almost exploded. However, she suppressed the anger in her heart when she saw Qin Feng tilt his head back and drink the wine. Magistrate Qiao, this little girl toasts you again. Ling Yun was afraid that the effect of the knockout drug wasn't enough, so she poured another glass. Qin Feng didn't refuse. He had the all-purpose antidote in his body, so any poison that entered his body was automatically neutralized. Being touched by Qin Feng again, Ling Yun was so angry that she almost crushed her teeth. She lost her patience. Seeing that the 2 glasses of wine were enough, she started to get to the point. Magistrate Qiao, where's the spiritual sword you took out at noon? Why don't you take it out and let me see it? Ling Yun's voice sounded as if she was acting coquettishly. This woman's looks were not bad, and her skin was as white as snow. In addition, after cultivating, her body had a hint of immortal qi. If an ordinary man was in front of her, they would have long since pounced on her. However, Qin Feng didn't feel anything. All of the women around him were prettier than Ling Yun. Even that girl, Hua Xiaozhen, was prettier than Ling Yun, after she dressed up. Beautiful Yun wants to see the great protector sword? Qin Feng pretended to be lecherous, and even twitched his eyebrows at Ling Yun. Ling Yun's lily-white hand instinctively touched the longsword at her waist. She almost slashed Qin Feng, but she endured it and continued to smile. That's right, Magistrate Qiao, I want to see your great protector sword. Qin Feng laughed loudly. He suddenly stood up and looked like he was going to undo his belt. Ling Yun was embarrassed and angry. She slammed the table and shouted, Qiao, what are you doing? The woman was completely enraged. Qin Feng looked at her in confusion and said, Didn't you want to see my great protector sword? I'm taking it out now. Ling Yun was stunned and couldn't react for a moment. But very quickly, her face was so red that it seemed like it was going to burn. This Qiao was really too shameless. Magistrate Qiao, I'm talking about that pink spirit sword, Ling Yun said through gritted teeth. Qin Feng slapped his forehead and looked as if he had suddenly realized something. Oh, so beautiful Yun wants to see that sword. I almost misunderstood. Qin Feng didn't finish his sentence. Instead, he looked into his thighs. He was deliberately angering Ling Yun. This woman almost killed him. Ling Yun was about to go crazy because of Qin Feng. If it wasn't for the spirit sword and the other spirit weapons on Qin Feng's body, she would have slashed this reckless brat in half. Beautiful Yun, don't be anxious. I'll take out the treasure for you now. Seeing that Ling Yun was so angry that she didn't say anything, Qin Feng waved his hand and a jade bottle appeared in his hand. Ling Yun almost pulled out her sword again. She thought that Qin Feng was playing with her again. But halfway through her action, she was stunned. The room was filled with a rich fragrance of medicine. What Qin Feng took out was a bottle of medicinal pills. What kind of medicinal pill is this? Ling Yun's eyes lit up. Qin Feng poured out one pill. The pill was round and milky white. It looked like a pearl. This is the essence gathering pill. It can condense spiritual energy and increase the speed of cultivation. As a disciple of the Holy Gate, Ling Yun naturally knew what the spirit gathering pill was. Her eyes suddenly lit up as she stared at the spirit gathering pill in Qin Feng's hand. It was as if she was staring at a spring in a desert. Essence gathering pill? Is this really a grade 5 essence gathering pill? Ling Yun was stunned. She looked at Qin Feng and the pill in his hand in disbelief. Isn't this brat just the magistrate of the West Town Yamen? Where did he get so many treasures? A pink spirit weapon and a grade 5 essence gathering pill? One had to know how precious medicinal pills were to Holy Gate disciples. Moreover, this was a grade 5 essence gathering pill. Even with Ling Yun's status in the spirit beast sect, she had never eaten a grade 5 essence gathering pill. Quick, give it to me. After regaining her senses, Ling Yun snatched the essence gathering pill without hesitation and swallowed it. Her face was filled with ecstasy. She had been stuck at stage 4 true qi for more than 2 years. With the help of the essence gathering pill, she might have a chance to break through to stage 5 true qi. This grade 5 essence gathering pill was indeed precious, but it was nothing in Qin Feng's eyes. During the alchemy conference, Hua Tuo refined the upgraded version of the essence gathering pill, the ascending spirit pill. That ascending spirit pill was a grade 6 gold pill, which was a level higher than the essence gathering pill. Looking at the excited Ling Yun, Qin Feng was amused. The reason why he took out the essence gathering pill was naturally not to give it to her out of kindness. Qin Feng had added poison into the pill. When the medicinal effect took effect, it would suppress Ling Yun's strength. Ha 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 ha. County Magistrate Qiao, you really are my treasure. Ling Yun felt that the pill had already entered her bloodstream. She stared at Qin Feng and laughed uncontrollably. She calculated the time, and the knockout drug was about to take effect. When Qin Feng fainted, she would snatch away this guy's treasure. Qin Feng pretended that nothing had happened and said with a smile, Beautiful Yun, what you said is wrong. How can I be your treasure? You are more like my little treasure. Qin Feng revealed a naughty smile and stared at Ling Yun's chest. Ling Yun'er's laughter suddenly stopped. She was so angry that she wanted to stab Qin Feng's head with her sword. However, before she could pull out her long sword, she heard Qin Feng continue. That's right, beautiful Yun'er. I have some doubts about cultivation. I wonder if you could explain it to me? What doubts? Ling Yun'er's expression was cold. Qin Feng acted as if he didn't see it. Why are all the martial artists in the divine great land at the true Qi realm? Are there no lower realms? This question had been bottled up in Qin Feng's heart for a long time. Ever since he entered the dead door, whether it was the thugs from the black shop, the bandits, or the bailiffs, they were all experts in the true Qi realm. It was as if there was no inner Qi realm here. Ling Yun'er looked at Qin Feng strangely and said, Are you from here or not? The divine great land's spiritual energy is abundant. Stepping into the threshold of cultivation starts from the first stage of true Qi. Do you think there are lower realms? Qin Feng was shocked. The divine great land actually started from the first stage of true Qi. He suddenly thought of the system's heavenly blessing and earthly cave pavilion. When he first unlocked this interface, Little Pig said that if one cultivated in the heavenly blessing and earthly cave pavilion, they would directly start from the true Qi realm. The spiritual energy in the divine great land was as thick as the heavenly blessing and earthly cave pavilion. It seemed that this was simply an enlarged version of the innate cave pavilion. Ling Yun'er still stared at Qin Feng suspiciously. The suspicion in her heart grew stronger. There were realms below true Qi, but those realms were the inner Qi realm of martial artists in the outside world. Ling Yun'er had just returned from the outside world, and had some understanding of the secular world of China. Why aren't you saying anything? Could it be that you know there are realms below true Qi realm? Ling Yun'er asked in a low voice. Qin Feng realized that this woman was somewhat suspicious of him. He said unhurriedly, Beautiful Yun'er, what's wrong? Why are you being so serious? How would I know what realms there are below true Qi realm? I haven't even broken through to true Qi realm, so I don't know anything. That's why I'm asking you. Ling Yun'er had long discovered that Qin Feng didn't have any true Qi fluctuations on his body. Indeed, he hadn't stepped into the path of cultivation. However, when she thought about how she wanted to snatch the spirit sword from Qin Feng's hands at noon in the Great Hall, she thought it was a bit strange that the brat could avoid her. However, she couldn't figure it out for a while, so Ling Yun'er focused her attention on Qin Feng's treasures. Compared to those spirit weapons and spirit pills, Ling Yun'er was too lazy to care about what secrets Qin Feng had. County Magistrate Xiao, what other spirit weapons and spirit pills do you have? Take them all out and let this little girl have a look. This woman was indeed sinister and cunning. She was cold just now, but now she was smiling at Qin Feng. However, Qin Feng couldn't take out his spirit weapons. Previously, he had fought with the Extinction Sect's disciples in the outside world. He had used the Golden Phoenix, the Golden Wheel, the Rainbow Demon Storm Spear, and other super spirit weapons. If he took them out, Ling Yun'er would definitely find out. Beautiful Yun'er, I've hidden all those spirit weapons in the secret room. Tonight, I only have one spirit gathering pill on me. When I'm free, I'll take you to see them. Qin Feng casually found an excuse. Ling Yun'er felt suffocated. She could tell that this Qiao guy wasn't stupid at all. He purposely hid the spirit weapons to save his life. Ling Yun'er couldn't really kill Qin Feng. After a moment of silence, she suddenly said something else. County Magistrate Xiao, you have to keep your word. I'm waiting for you to take me to see your collection of spirit weapons. That's right, there's another matter I need County Magistrate Xiao's help with. Recently, there's a brat who was blind and offended the Spirit Beast sect. Our sect leader issued a wanted order. This is the brat's portrait. Put up the notice tomorrow morning. If anyone can provide clues about this person, the Spirit Beast sect will reward them with 10 taels of gold. Chapter 1366. Qin Feng glanced at the portrait drawn in ink on the white paper, and almost jumped up. Wasn't that him? Magistrate Xiao, why are you so excited? Have you seen this person before? Ling Yun'er stared at Qin Feng and asked. Qin Feng quickly calmed down. He was glad that he changed his appearance to Qiao Feng, and entered the Despair Gate. He shook his head and said, I've never seen this person before. I was just shocked by his handsome appearance. Beautiful Yunner. What did this handsome guy do? What a pity. Ling Yunner was so angry that she rolled her eyes. She wanted to kill Qin Feng, but this Qiao guy said he was handsome? Magistrate Qiao, why are you looking at me like that? This person looks like a pile of dog shit. He's not even as handsome as you. Qin Feng didn't know whether Ling Yunner was praising him or scolding him. He quickly realized another problem. At that time, he almost died in the formation. Later, he killed those mountain bandits and left with Hua Xiaojin. How could this Ling Yunner be sure that he didn't die? Otherwise, why would she put out a warrant for his arrest? However, Qin Feng didn't want to ask too much about this in case Ling Yunner became suspicious. He looked at the time and saw that the poison in the spirit-gathering pill had completely dissipated. Qin Feng's face suddenly lit up with an evil smile. Magistrate Qiao, what are you smiling at? Ling Yunner was very unhappy with Qin Feng's vulgar smile. Her pretty face turned cold. Qin Feng acted as if he didn't hear her. He stood up and walked towards her. When he first entered the Despair Gate, Qin Feng swore that the next time he saw Ling Yunner, he would definitely teach her a lesson. Qin Feng had always been a man of his words. Surnamed Qiao, if you dare take half a step closer, I'll make your head roll on the ground. Qin Feng had already walked to Ling Yunner's side. Ling Yunner's jade-like hand grasped the hilt of her sword, ready to attack at any time. However, Qin Feng ignored her. He suddenly reached out and hooked her chin, saying, Beautiful Yunner, didn't you look for me in the middle of the night to play with you? Why are you embarrassed? Ling Yunner was shocked at first. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. When she regained her senses, she immediately pulled out the sword. The long sword trembled, but it was caught by Qin Feng's 2 fingers. With a slight force, the long sword actually fell to the ground. What's going on? Why can't I circulate my Jinqi? Ling Yunner was dumbstruck. She looked at her own hands like a fool. Qin Feng had already expected this. He pulled her into his embrace and caressed her. Beautiful Yunner, don't leave tonight. I'll teach you how to be a woman. Ling Yunner was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She was a dignified genius disciple of the Spirit Beast sect. How could she look up to a mere county magistrate? However, Ling Yunner tried her best but was unable to activate her true qi. In the end, she used brute force to struggle, but she was unable to break free from Qin Feng's embrace. Qiao, you dare to touch me? Who the fuck are you? You're not even fit to carry my shoes. Hurry up and let go. Otherwise, when I recover my strength, I'll tear you to pieces and feed you to the dogs. Voila! Just as Ling Yunner finished speaking, a few pieces of her clothes were ripped off by Qin Feng. Her fragrant shoulders and long legs were revealed, and a wave of fragrance wafted through the room. Ling Yunner clenched her teeth so hard that they were about to break. She still couldn't understand how a mere county magistrate of West Town dared to lay a hand on her. Soon she thought of another matter. She angrily shouted, You drugged the spirit-gathering pill? You lowly commoner, you're courting death. Beautiful Yunner, how can a spirit pill be eaten for free? 1 spirit pill in exchange for 1 night is already very worth it. Qin Feng deliberately angered this woman. Ling Yunner's clothes had already been torn to pieces by Qin Feng. She gave off a wild and seductive feeling. Gotcha. However, at this moment the door was suddenly pushed open. Hua Xiaojin entered the room and froze at the door. She covered her small mouth to prevent herself from screaming. She looked at young Master Qiao and Ling Yunner in disbelief. Qin Feng abruptly stopped what he was doing. Being caught by Hua Xiaojin made him a little embarrassed. When Ling Yunner saw that someone had arrived, she hurriedly yelled at Hua Xiaojin. What are you still standing there for? You lowly servant. Hurry up and call for help. Hua Xiaojin suddenly woke up. However, she didn't leave. Instead, she walked into the room and locked the door. This action stunned Qin Feng and Ling Yunner. They didn't know what Hua Xiaojin was thinking. However, they saw her quickly walk towards Qin Feng and suddenly grab Ling Yunner's struggling hands. Xiaojin, what are you doing? Qin Feng looked at her blankly. Ling Yunner angrily shouted. You lowly servant, you dare to grab me? Hurry up and let go of me. Believe it or not, I'll find a beggar on the street to do you. Hua Xiaojin was a little angry, but she ignored Ling Yunner. She looked at Qin Feng and said, Young Master Qiao, you want to do this woman, right? This lowly servant will help you control her. Qin Feng suddenly froze. He felt as if his view of the world had been turned upside down. Were all the maids of the divine great land so understanding? Qin Feng wondered if he should bring a dozen of them back when he left. Ling Yun'er was still shouting. She looked down on Qin Feng and Hua Xiaojun. Qin Feng was already angry. He wanted to teach this woman a lesson. Hua Xiaojun grabbed Ling Yun'er from beginning to end, but she didn't dare to look around. However, when she heard the sound, Hua Xiaojun was a little excited. She had slept with Qin Feng for a few nights, but young Master Qiao didn't touch her. She felt a little disappointed. Half an hour later, Qin Feng put on his clothes. Ling Yun'er was lying on the ground, covered in sweat. She glared at Qin Feng. If the true qi in her body hadn't disappeared, she would have cut Qin Feng and Hua Xiaojun into 1,000 pieces. During this time, Sun Dao and Xia Long came by. They had the same goal as Ling Yun'er. They wanted to cheat Qin Feng of his treasures. However, when the two of them walked to the door, they heard Ling Yun'er's voice. They immediately became angry and secretly scolded this woman for not following the rules of a woman. After the big battle, Hua Xiaojun retreated to the side. Qin Feng was a little embarrassed after he calmed down. He secretly glanced at Hua Xiaojun and was relieved to see that she looked normal. Qiao Yu, you can kill me now if you can. If you let me leave this door, you and that woman will be chopped into meat paste. Ling Yun'er was too lazy to put on her clothes since she had been taken by Qin Feng. She was so angry that her chest heaved. Qin Feng had to admit that the girl was beautiful and had a good figure, but Qin Feng had no feelings for her at all. He strode over with Moon's sorrow in his hand. Ling Yun'er was so scared that she was trembling. Magistrate Qiao, don't kill me. Seeing that the sword was about to fall, Ling Yun'er, who had been cold and arrogant a second ago, suddenly gave in. Hua Xiaojun despised her cowardly look. Moon's sorrow hung above Ling Yun'er's head. Qin Feng sneered. Spare your life? You have to give me a reason. At this moment, Ling Yun'er was so angry that her blood was boiling. Even if you beat her to death, she would never have imagined that she would end up like this. A mere Yamen magistrate was not even comparable to a dog in her eyes. But now he had taken over her body and even decided her life. However, no matter how dissatisfied she was, Ling Yun'er couldn't vent. She suddenly looked at Qin Feng charmingly and said, I can serve Magistrate Qiao every night in the future. I only ask that Magistrate Qiao spare my life. Hua Xiaojun didn't want to care about young Master Qiao's business. She knew that she didn't have the right to, but she couldn't stand Ling Yun'er. This woman was sinister and cunning. If young Master Qiao kept her by his side, he would get into trouble sooner or later. Young Master Qiao. Hua Xiaojun called out pitifully, but she didn't say anything else. Qin Feng was a bit embarrassed facing Hua Xiaojun, but he understood what she meant. Xiaojun, go to sleep first. I'll go to Ling Yun'er's room to talk about some business. Ling Yun'er put on her clothes, and the two left the room. Hua Xiaojun looked at the empty room and sat on the bed alone, crying secretly. She thought that Qin Feng went to Ling Yun'er's room to continue doing that. Now that young Master Qiao was bewitched by Ling Yun'er, Hua Xiaojun was worried that young Master Qiao would abandon her. Qin Feng didn't think that Hua Xiaojun would think so much. Otherwise, he would have explained it to her first before leaving. At this time, the two of them arrived at Ling Yun'er's room. Ling Yun'er was about to take off her clothes, but Qin Feng stopped her. Do you really think that I spared your life because of your beauty? I don't care about your looks. Even my servant girl, Xiaojun, is 10,000 times better than you. Ling Yun'er was angered to death. No matter what, she could be considered a beauty in the Holy Gate, and there were countless disciples pursuing her. But now, she was being looked down upon by a small county magistrate. This was simply a humiliation. Magistrate Qiao, what will it take for you to let me go? Ling Yun'er could only suppress her anger and plan to deal with Qin Feng after she escaped. How could her little thoughts escape Qin Feng's eyes? Qin Feng said, the spirit-gathering pill I gave you is extremely poisonous. The poison will suppress the true qi in your body. If you forcefully use your true qi, your tendons and veins will break, and you will bleed to death. Ling Yun'er was so scared that her legs trembled. As a genius female disciple of Spirit Beast sect, She stepped into true Qi stage 4 at the young age of 25. Her future was bright, and she didn't want to die so easily. Magistrate Qiao, we have no enmity between us. Why did you poison me? Ling Yuner was puzzled. Qin Feng sneered in his heart. You woman almost killed me, and you said there was no enmity between us? However, he couldn't reveal his identity now. If that happened, he had to kill Ling Yuner. However, Ling Yuner came with Red Sun Sect and White Song Sect disciples. If she suddenly died, it would definitely arouse suspicion. Let me ask you, where is Spirit Beast Sect? Qin Feng went straight to the point. Ling Yuner was stunned for a moment, and her eyes became vigilant. Magistrate Qiao, why are you asking this? I see that your Sacred Gate disciples have noble identities, and are all skilled in martial arts. I also want to join the Sacred Gate. I want to go to Spirit Beast Sect to be apprenticed to a master, okay? Qin Feng casually made up an excuse. Ling Yuner felt depressed. Spirit Beast Sect was a huge sect. How could you be apprenticed to a master just because you wanted to? Only by passing the disciple selection once every 3 years would you have the chance to join the various sacred gates. Magistrate Qiao, you definitely can't go to Spirit Beast Sect rashly. Not only will you not be apprenticed to a master, you might even be treated as an enemy and killed. Ling Yuner was very vigilant. She didn't reveal any information about Spirit Beast Sect's location. Chapter 1367. Qin Feng knew what Ling Yuner was thinking. When the elders of Spirit Beast Sect came, this woman would definitely complain. At that time, not to mention going to Spirit Beast Sect, she might even kill him in the yamen. However, he pretended to be stupid and said, Is what you said true? Is your sect's grand elder easy to talk to? What if he doesn't take me back? Seeing that Qin Feng had taken the bait, Ling Yuner hurriedly said, Don't worry, Magistrate Qiao. When the time comes, I'll do my best to recommend you. Now that you've taken my body, of course I'll wholeheartedly follow you. Ling Yuner began to pretend to be charming again. Qin Feng sneered in his heart. Okay, then I'll believe you this once. If the elders really don't agree, I'll just give them the powder equipment I've kept for many years. That way they'll take me back, right? Qin Feng said it casually, but Ling Yuner was stunned. This brat really hid a few rare powder equipment, but if he really told the elders about these equipment, how would Ling Yuner have the chance to get them? They would all be taken away by the elders. Magistrate Qiao, you mustn't tell the elders about the equipment and pills. Ling Yuner urged anxiously. Qin Feng obviously understood this woman's thoughts, but he pretended to be confused and said, Why not? Could it be that you don't want me to join Spirit Beast Sect? You just said you want to follow me wholeheartedly. You're a bitch. Qin Feng cursed and cursed. Ling Yuner almost exploded with anger, but she still smiled and said, Don't be angry, Lord Qiao. I'm already your woman. How can I not help you? I'm doing this to save you. If you tell the elders of Spirit Beast Sect about the equipment and pills, they will definitely kill you. Oh, those elders are so vicious? Qin Feng looked nervous. Lord Qiao, it's because I've become your woman. Otherwise, why would I say such things to others? Those elders are powerful and vicious. Try not to come into contact with them. When the time comes, I'll help you pave the way. Qin Feng laughed coldly in his heart. This woman Ling Yuner really knew how to act. Her words sounded even better than her singing. Qin Feng didn't expose him. He said with some fear, I see. Thank goodness you reminded me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep my life. Then I'll listen to you. I won't tell anyone about the spiritual weapon and spiritual pill. However, the disciples of the White Warehouse Sect and the Red Sun Sect also know about the spiritual weapon. What should I do? Ling Yuner was not worried that Xie Long and Sun Dao would leak the news, because if that happened, the two of them would not be able to get a single spiritual artifact. At that time, it would be the elders of the 3 sects fighting over the powder equipment and spiritual pills. After talking about the spiritual weapons, Qin Feng asked about another important matter. Ling Yun, tell me in detail about the battle between the 2 cities. How many experts will the 3 sacred gates of distant Ice City send? Ling Yuner didn't think too much and said, This time, our spirit beast sect master is determined to take Meteor City's territory. 3 days later, they will send a great elder at the 7th stage of true Qi, 3 elders at the 6th stage of true Qi, and many disciples. The forces that the Red Sun sect and the White Warehouse sect will send are about the same as the Spirit Beast sect. Qin Feng was shocked. This time they were going to gather 3 powerful experts at the 7th stage of true Qi, 6 at the 6th stage of true Qi, and countless disciples at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th stage. If such a powerful force was brought to the secular world of China and the outer world of martial arts, just standing there would scare the martial artists of the outside world to death. Currently, the strongest expert Qin Feng met was only at the 6th stage of true Qi. Now that he was injured, he was more or less worried. 20%. Are there any rules when the battle starts? Qin Feng continued to ask. Ling Yuner looked at Qin Feng strangely. She increasingly felt that this person wasn't from this side. Why didn't he know any common sense? However, her life was still in Qin Feng's hands, so she didn't dare to ask any more questions. She said, "There are 2 ways to fight a war between 2 cities. One is to start an all-out war and fight to the death until the entire army is wiped out. The other is for both cities to send out some experts and let these experts fight. The side that wins the city." After talking with Ling Yuner for a long time, Qin Feng understood more about the matters of the divine continent. He preferred the first way. These sacred gates weren't good people. It was best to fight to the death. After asking what he needed to ask, Qin Feng didn't stay for long. Just as he was about to leave, he was suddenly hugged by Ling Yuner from behind. Ling Yuner's heartbeat sped up. Ever since she was forcefully pushed by the spirit crane in the outside world, she would sometimes want that kind of thing. Tonight, Qin Feng's power subdued her. She didn't resist and instead enjoyed it. In the dead of night, Ling Yuner thought about it again. She was surprised to find herself immersed in Qin Feng's power. "Woman, what are you doing?" Qin Feng shook off Ling Yuner's arm and stared at her coldly. "Lord Qiao, don't leave tonight. Let this little girl serve you well." Ling Yuner's almond-shaped eyes were filled with lust. Qin Feng was shocked. He knew that Ling Yuner didn't need to dig any traps or tricks. Did this woman really want it? This made Qin Feng depressed. He couldn't understand Ling Yuner's thoughts. "I'm tired tonight. Let's talk about it next time." Qin Feng hurriedly ran out of Ling Yuner's room. Qin Feng came to punish this woman in the battle not long ago. He didn't expect that he wouldn't humiliate her. This woman was addicted to it. She really didn't know how to behave. When Qin Feng returned to his room, he found that Hua Xiaojun still hadn't fallen asleep. She hurriedly stood up from the bed and wiped the tears from her eyes. It was obvious that she had cried for a long time. "Xiaojun, what's wrong?" Qin Feng came up and asked with concern. Hua Xiaojun shook her head and didn't say anything. Qin Feng pulled her to the bed and sat her down. After asking a few times, this girl finally spoke. "Qi, young Master Qiao, why you like that woman?" Hua Xiaojun asked carefully. Her heart was about to jump out of her throat. If young Master Qiao really liked that woman, then wouldn't she be abandoned? "How could I like Ling Yuner? That woman is vicious. I'm just acting with her. Don't worry about this." Qin Feng rubbed Hua Xiaojun's head. Hua Xiaojun's anxious heart finally calmed down. She had long felt that Ling Yuner didn't have good intentions. She wanted to warn young Master Qiao, but she found that young Master Qiao was an understanding person. He was just pretending to be confused. "Aya. Young Master Qiao, please don't blame me. This lowly servant will go fill the bathwater." Hua Xiaojun had been worried all night. Only now did she realize that she didn't even prepare the bathwater. She hurriedly ran to get busy. Soon, Qin Feng was lying in the warm wooden tub. Hua Xiaojun carefully rubbed and massaged him. Tonight, Hua Xiaojun was a bit strange. Her eyes occasionally glanced at Qin Feng's legs. Hua Xiaojun knew that Qin Feng didn't like Ling Yuner. But why did he push that woman down? When she thought about this, Hua Xiaojun's eyes brightened. Young Master Qiao was a hot-blooded man. Naturally, he needed to solve some physiological problems. "Young Master Qiao, this lowly servant is bold. Please don't blame me, young Master Qiao." Hua Xiaojun said out of the blue. Qin Feng was stunned. Suddenly, he saw this woman lower her head and move closer to his thigh. Chapter 1368. The war between the two cities was imminent, and distant Ice City was engulfed in a storm. Under the request of the three sacred gates, the officials of the various government offices began to recruit soldiers and prepare to go to war. The young men in the city were all captured, and looked as if they were waiting for death. Hua Xiaozhen was frightened by this chaotic situation, and was on tenterhooks every day. Qin Feng looked at the originally happy and stable families being torn apart, and felt somewhat upset. However, he could not even protect himself, and had no power to manage these miscellaneous matters. 3 days after Ling Yuner and the others arrived, the elders of the three sacred gates of distant Ice City arrived with their teams. This west town was the closest town to the sunset-gazing mountain at the border of Meteor City, so all the disciples of the sacred gate were gathered here. As for the able-bodied men that were captured from other towns, they would eventually gather here and go to war. The arrival of Xie Long and the others made the people of the West Town government restless. Now that the elders of the three sacred gates had personally led their teams here, the people of the government office were even more frightened. Early in the morning, there were already 2 long queues outside the government office. Ling Yuner and the other disciples of the government office all came out to welcome them. There were close to 100 people, all of them riding on tall horses. The 3 great elders of the 3 sects were walking at the very front, each wearing a different sect's uniform. Behind them were their own sect's disciples. Just the majestic procession alone was enough to make people feel fearful. Disciple Ling Yuner greets Great Elder Ling Chong and Elder Ling Wei. Disciple Sun Dao greets Great Elder Sun He and Elder Sun Wen. Disciple Xie Long greets Great Elder Xie Juetian. Seeing the people coming, Ling Yuner and the others immediately went to welcome them and greeted the elders respectfully. The Spirit Beast sect and the Red Sun sect each sent a Great Elder and an Elder. On the other hand, White Song only sent Great Elder Xie Juetian. The 3 sects each brought over 30 disciples. Qin Feng looked around and saw that they were all experts at the 3rd stage of True Qi and above. There were 100 True Qi realm experts gathered outside the government office. There were even 3 experts at the 7th stage of True Qi, and quite a few at the 6th stage of True Qi. As for those at the 4th and 5th stage of True Qi, they were as many as dogs. Such a magnificent formation shocked Qin Feng. This was even more powerful than the group of Despair Sect's disciples who had come out of closed-door training when he was in Hero City. Qin Feng was worried that even if he used the Black Dragon tank, would he be able to defeat this group of people? Where's the manager here? Are you tired of living? While Qin Feng was in a daze, the great elders of the 3 sects were unhappy. Each of their faces was colder than the last. The great elder of the Spirit Beast sect, Ling Chong, had the highest position and was already shouting. Everyone in the yamen was so scared that they almost knelt down. Wei Changming kept signaling Qin Feng with his eyes. Wang Long, Li Hu, and the others couldn't wait to shake Qin Feng's arm to wake him up. This was the great elder of the Holy Gate. If they were angered, they could destroy the entire yamen with a snap of their fingers. Young Master Qiao. Hua Xiaozhen called out softly. She was also frightened. Without waiting for Qin Feng to step forward, Ling Yuner had already started to speak up for her. Elder Ling Chong, Zhang Mo Qi, this yamen is filled with low-level warriors. Clearly they were shocked by Elder Ling Chong's might. Great Elder Sun He, it must have been hard on you. Disciple will help you to hold the horse. Thank you, Great Elder Tian Qi. Sun Dao and Xie Long were actually speaking up for Qin Feng. The 3 of them had the same thought. They had been eyeing the pink spiritual weapon on Qin Feng for the past few days. They didn't want the elders to kill Qin Feng with a single palm strike. Just as Ling Yuner had guessed, Sun Dao and Xie Long didn't plan to tell the elders about the spiritual weapon. If that was the case, how would they get a share? Qin Feng walked up with large strides. His expression didn't change much as he faced the 3 great elders. I am Qiao Feng, the county magistrate of the West Town Yamen. I knew that the 3 great elders would be coming today, so I led everyone to wait for a long time. Qin Feng's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. Ling Chong and the other 2 were slightly stunned. As the great elders of the Holy Gate, their status was extremely honorable. Even the city lord of the distant Ice City had to humble himself and curry favor with the 3 of them. Who would have thought that a mere county magistrate would have such an attitude? Humph. A mere county magistrate dares to act big in front of me? I think you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Ling Chong's face turned cold. Waves of true qi burst out from his body, and the bailiffs couldn't breathe. Wei Changming even knelt on the ground. Ling Yin'er jumped in fright. She cursed Qin Feng's arrogance inwardly. It was fine if he acted big in front of her, but he actually dared to act big in front of the Holy Gate's great elders? Great Elder Ling Chong, you have a noble status. Why are you angry at an ant-like county magistrate? His standards are too low, and he doesn't know the noble status that Great Elder represents. Ling Chong looked at Ling Yun'er strangely after she said all the good things she wanted to say. He felt that something was wrong. Ling Yun'er, could it be that you have some relationship with that kid? Why are you always speaking up for him? When Ling Yun'er saw that Grand Elder Ling Chong had noticed something fishy, she was scared to death. She had concealed the matter of the spiritual artifact from Grand Elder Ling Chong. If this matter was exposed, Ling Yun'er could imagine her tragic death. Great Elder Ling Chong has misunderstood. How could I have any relationship with that ant-like person? It's just that this west town is the closest to the sunset gazing mountain. That Xiao guy is very familiar with the terrain around here. We still need him to help us fight. Ling Yun'er made up an excuse. Ling Chong glared at Qin Feng coldly and ignored her. It was just as Ling Yun'er said. The Holy Gate's great elder's status was extremely noble. Ling Chong even felt that if he spoke to Qin Feng, his status would drop a little. Have all the able-bodied men in distant Ice City been captured? Ling Chong had already gotten down to business. Ling Yun'er hurriedly replied. Don't worry, Great Elder Ling Chong. I've already passed on this matter 3 days ago. Currently, all 23 towns in distant Ice City have gathered a large number of troops, and they'll gather here by tomorrow morning at the latest. Ling Chong nodded and continued. All right, then we will set off after tomorrow morning. This time, the sect master intends to send out experts to fight to prevent the two cities from fighting to the death. Ling Chong stated his intention in front of everyone, but his words were mainly for Sun He and Xie Juetian to hear. Among the 3 holy gates of distant Ice City, the Spirit Beast sect was the strongest. The words of the Spirit Beast sect's sect master were equivalent to the city's imperial edict. Sun He and Xie Juetian were a little displeased, but they agreed with the Spirit Beast sect's intentions. No one wanted to fight to the death. The Holy Gate's great elder had already been brought to the yamen and arranged to stay in a high-class guest room. As for the Holy Gate's disciples, there were a few of them staying in one room. After all, there were more than 100 people in one go, and the yamen was running out of rooms. Even Wei Changming, Wang Long, Li Hu, and the others had to give up their rooms and sleep in the courtyard. Qin Feng and Hua Xiaojun returned to their room. The moment they entered, Hua Xiaojun said worriedly, Young Master Qiao, let's leave quickly. Qin Feng understood Hua Xiaojun's worries. Now that so many Holy Gate's disciples had arrived, even Qin Feng was a little worried. They were going to the Sunset Visualization Mountain to investigate the situation tomorrow. Qin Feng didn't dare to bring Hua Xiaojun along, afraid that something might happen. Xiaojun, ride the flaming dragon horse back to Hua family village tomorrow morning. Qin Feng had already started to make arrangements for Hua Xiaojun's safety. The flaming dragon horse was a high-grade spiritual horse. He believed that Hua Xiaojun wouldn't be easily caught by others. Boo-hoo, young Master Qiao, don't abandon this lowly servant. If this lowly servant has done anything wrong, I will definitely correct it. Hua Xiaojun suddenly knelt in front of Qin Feng and cried her heart out. Qin Feng felt helpless. He carried her to the bed and helped her wipe her tears. He said seriously, Xiaojun, it's not that I don't want you anymore. You should know that the two cities are at war now. If you continue to follow me, there will be danger. Hua Xiaojun's crying gradually stopped, and she shook her head with a resolute expression. Young Master Qiao, Xiaojun is not afraid of death. If it wasn't for young Master Qiao killing the bandits in the bamboo forest that day, Xiaojun would have already committed suicide. This lowly servant's life is already young Master Qiao's. I want to accompany young Master Qiao in life and death. Qin Feng could tell that Hua Xiaojun was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Compared to death, This silly girl was actually more afraid of being abandoned by him. The more sincere Hua Xiaozhen was, the more Qin Feng couldn't let her be hurt. He reached out and hugged her in his arms. He said, "Leave tomorrow morning. I promise you that I will come back to find you. If you follow me, you will only drag me down." Hua Xiaozhen wasn't stupid at all. She understood Qin Feng's meaning, but she was still very reluctant. How could she watch young Master Qiao go through fire and water? Seeing that Qin Feng's plan was set, no matter how reluctant Hua Xiaozhen was, she hid it in her heart. That night, Qin Feng hugged Hua Xiaozhen to sleep, but Hua Xiaozhen couldn't sleep at all. She looked forward to young Master Qiao suddenly pouncing on her in the middle of the night and ravaging her as fiercely as he ravaged Ling Yuner that night. Qin Feng woke up just as the sky brightened. He gave Hua Xiaozhen a few more warnings and had her leave on the flaming dragon horse. Hua Xiaozhen started crying the moment she left the yamen. She cried all the way to Hua family village until her tears dried up. There were many times when she wanted to turn around and return to Qin Feng's side, but in the end she suppressed this strong urge. The yamen was surrounded by people early in the morning. Other than the Sacred Gate disciples who rushed over yesterday, there was another black mass of people. These were all able-bodied men captured from various villages in distant Ice City. Almost all of them had stepped into the realm of true qi. As for those ordinary villagers who had no strength, they were useless even if they were captured. Even so, close to 10,000 people were captured. At this moment, the streets outside the yamen were completely blocked, and one couldn't see the end of it. Ling Chong stood at the front of the crowd. The great elders of the Red Sun sect and the White Song sect were half a step behind him. The difference in their status could be seen from this. Ling Yuner, Sun Dao, Xie Long, and the others stood behind the little elder. As for Qin Feng and the people from the yamen, they could only stand at the back. Chapter 1369. Ling Chong maintained the posture of an expert. After a long silence, he slowly opened his mouth. Citizens of Distant Ice City, now that 20% of the cities are at war, Distant Ice City is in dire straits. Usually, the Spirit Beast sect protects everyone's peace and harmony. Now we need everyone to work together to resist. Once we take down Meteor City, everyone will have a better life. Ling Chong spoke for a long time to trick these able-bodied men into fighting the war. The crowd shook their heads and sighed. They had all sorts of resentment in their hearts, but they didn't dare to say anything. As the poor people of China, they were usually bullied by the yamen and had to fear the might of the Sacred Gate. They lived the same poor and difficult lives as the peasants of Hua Village. Not only did they have to worry about survival every day, but they were also constantly worried about being bullied. How was this a life of equality? Since when did the Sacred Gate truly protect these poor people? The so-called peace and harmony were all bullshit. The only people who benefited from this city war were the Sacred Gate. What did it have to do with the poor people? Ling Chong could see the dissatisfaction in these people's hearts, but he pretended not to see it. In the end, he even added, "We will set off after the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. When the two cities start fighting, I hope everyone will do their best. If I find any deserters, I will personally kill them." The crowd sighed even louder, but no one stood up to resist. These people were as stubborn as Hua Xiaozhen. They had been bullied since they were young, and they even felt that this was something they should do. Qin Feng also shook his head and sighed. He felt a trace of helplessness towards these people's foolish thoughts. Not long after, it was time to set off. Under Ling Chong's command, the majestic troops set off towards Sunset Gazing Mountain. Apart from this troop, there was no one else in West Town. The poor people had long since hidden in their homes. In this chaotic time of war, no one dared to run around on the streets. This West Town made Qin Feng feel unfamiliar. He remembered the first time he rode a horse to West Town with Hua Xiaozhen. It was extraordinarily lively. The poor people on the streets were kind-hearted, and the children playing on the streets made Qin Feng feel happy. The willow trees swayed in the breeze, and the kites danced in the dark blue sky. Those scenes could no longer be seen. There was only the thunderous footsteps of the troops, and the flying dust behind them. Ding! The Hedonist sovereign system has issued a chain quest, City War Quest. Announcing City War main mission. Host Qin Feng, Take down Meteor City and Distant Ice City. Time limit: 3 months. If the mission is completed, the system will reward 100,000 Hedonist points and a Black Dragon combat aircraft. If the mission is failed, 200,000 Hedonist points will be deducted, and your identity will be exposed, and you will be hunted by all holy gates. Announcing City War Side Mission 1. Muddy the battlefield and cause the sacred gates of Distant Ice City and Meteor City to suffer heavy losses. The time limit for the mission is 3 months. If the mission is successfully completed, the system will reward 50,000 Hedonist points and 1 True Chi pill. If the mission is failed, 100,000 Hedonist points will be deducted. Announcing the second side mission City Battle. Protect the poor citizens and change their rigid mindset. Time limit: 3 months. The system will reward 50,000 Hedonist points if the mission is successfully completed. If the mission is failed, 100,000 Hedonist points will be deducted. Halfway there, a system notification sounded in Qin Feng's mind. A new quest had been issued. He began to study the City War Chain mission. Unknowingly, the team had already arrived at the foot of the cloud-gazing mountain. The team in front stopped, and Qin Feng returned to reality from his thoughts. In front of him was an endless stretch of tall mountains. On the opposite side of the mountain was Meteor City. There were many soldiers guarding the foot of the mountain, and they immediately rushed over when they saw them. Greetings, Senior Holy Gate. The soldiers guarding the border were all from the Yamen. Their strength was only at stage 1 or stage 2 of True Chi. Although they said that they were guarding the border, it was only for show. Under normal circumstances, the people of the 2 cities would not cross the border. When the war really broke out, it was still the Holy Gate's disciples who came out from their seclusion. Ling Chong did not put the dozens of soldiers in his eyes at all. He didn't even look at them. He said to Sun He and Xieju Tian, "The 2 of you go to the other side and check out the situation." Ling Chong's tone sounded like he was ordering a little brother. Sun He and Xieju Tian were fuming with anger. As the great elders of the 2 sects, they were usually very noble in the sect. They had always been the ones ordering others. When had they ever been ordered? Ling Chong, don't push your luck. After all, we are the great elders of the sect. Our positions are equal. Why should I go and check out the situation? Why don't you go? Sun He couldn't help but grumble. Xieju Tian naturally stood on his side. He added, "I agree with Sun He. If we are going, we should all go together. How can we, the Red Sun sect, and White Song, scout the way? Is the Spirit Beast sect trying to reap the benefits of the third party?" Seeing that his thoughts were seen through, Ling Chong's expression turned a little ugly. However, he couldn't continue to be forceful. Even if the Spirit Beast sect was more powerful, it was taboo to have internal conflicts when the 2 cities were at war. What a joke. As the great elder of the Spirit Beast sect, I still have to scout the way? What are you guys thinking? Ling Chong roared angrily. Sun He and Xieju Tian almost fainted from anger. You are the great elder, but we are the great elders? The 2 of them didn't say anything else. They just sat on their horses and didn't do anything. Ling Chong held back his anger. After a moment of stalemate, he shouted to Ling Yin'er behind him. Bring some disciples to scout the situation. See how many experts Meteor City sent this time. Ling Yin'er's heart sank. She wasn't willing to do this kind of hard work. Even though they had many experts on their side, Meteor City also had the 3 sacred gates. Now that the 2 cities were at war, they would definitely send many experts over. What are you still standing there for? Ling Chong roared angrily. Ling Yin'er was so scared that she trembled. Even though she was very unwilling, she didn't dare to delay. However, her eyes turned and before she left, she suddenly said, "Magistrate Qiao, come with me." Qin Feng cursed at this woman's treachery in his heart. However, he quickly calmed down. On the way here, he just received a new mission from the system. If he wanted to complete this mission, he really had to go into Meteor City himself. At the very least, he had to meet the representatives there. Ling Yin'er called for 4 more disciples. Just as she was about to leave, she heard Ling Chong say, "Why aren't your 2 sects sending disciples? Are you using our Spirit Beast sect's people as cannon fodder?" Ling Chong glared at the 2 great elders, Sun He and Xieju Etian. The two of them couldn't pretend anymore. They sent out Sun Dao and Xie Long to lead the team. There were 15 to 16 people in the group. The weakest was at the 3rd level of True Qi, and the strongest was Xie Long, who was at the 5th level of True Qi. MT sunset visualization was tall and steep. Normal people couldn't climb it. However, Ling Yun, and the others were experts of the absolute sections. Leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls was a common occurrence for them. Qin Feng mixed in the group and became the only person without any strength. Seeing that the other disciples had already started to climb the mountain, Qin Feng smiled at Ling Yun, and said, "Beauty Yun, carry me up the mountain." Ling Yun's expression turned cold. If it wasn't for the spirit equipment and spirit pills, she would have killed Qin Feng a few hundred times over. "You're a man, and you want me to carry you? Can't you climb it yourself?" Qin Feng didn't care about Ling Yun's expression. His smile became even wider. "You know I'm just a normal person. How could I climb such a steep mountain? Moreover, I didn't need to come. Didn't you drag me here? Do you want to follow me wholeheartedly or not? Your current attitude makes me very suspicious. Why don't I go find your great elder and give him some spirit equipment and spirit pills? Maybe he'll curry favor with him." Qin Feng's words angered Ling Yun, to the point of unsheathing her sword. However, in an instant, the woman's face immediately became coquettish. She took the initiative to bend her waist and half-squat in front of Qin Feng. "Lord Xiao, I'll carry you up. I called you here because I wanted to protect you. You mustn't tell Great Elder about the spirit equipment and spirit pills. Otherwise, your life will be in danger." Ling Yun's perky buttocks were raised high. Her back view was enchanting, and her posture was sexy. Qin Feng almost kissed her. He lay on the woman's body. A soft fragrance assaulted his nose. He said, "Be careful when you climb the mountain. Don't touch me." Ling Yun was so angry that her eyes rolled back. She didn't talk nonsense with Qin Feng. She clenched her teeth and prepared to climb the mountain. However, she suddenly discovered that the true qi in her body was suppressed by the poison. She was also a normal person. "Lord Xiao, can you give me the antidote?" Ling Yun's eyes suddenly wandered. Qin Feng gave her a pill without thinking. Ling Yun's expression changed greatly. Since when did this surname Xiao become so easy to talk to? Ling Yun didn't think too much. She hurriedly swallowed the pill. Immediately, the true qi in her body recovered and began to surge violently. Swish! Ling Yun turned into a black shadow. It seemed that in a few breaths, she had already reached halfway up the mountain. She jumped on the cliff like a light swallow. It was as if Qin Feng, who was on her back, didn't exist. Ling Yun laughed excitedly in her heart. She finally recovered her true qi. These days, she was miserably played by Qin Feng. She wanted to take Qin Feng to a place where there was no one, force him to take out the spirit equipment and spirit pills, and then silence him. "Ling Yun, why are you running so fast?" Sun Dao and Xie Long, who were climbing the mountain, suddenly stared blankly. Ling Yun seemed to have erupted with all her strength to climb the mountain. In the blink of an eye, she had left everyone far behind. Ling Yun didn't pay attention to the two of them. At this moment, she was so excited that she wanted to raise her head to the sky and roar. Qin Feng understood this woman's thoughts. However, looking at his indifferent expression, he didn't put Ling Yun in his eyes at all. Swish, swish, swish. The wind blew past their ears. In any case, Ling Yun was an expert at the fourth stage of true qi. In a short while, she had already climbed to the top of the mountain with Qin Feng on her back. This mountain peak was at least 100 meters high. Qin Feng stood at the top of the mountain and looked at the world of Meteor City across the mountain. At the foot of the mountain there was a dense mass of people. 80% of them were the expedition team called by Meteor City. Moreover, this mountain peak was endless, and there were many caves that were difficult to detect. Swish! Just as Qin Feng finished observing the terrain, Ling Yun pulled him and flew towards the distant mountain range. Chapter 1370. Ling Yun didn't say anything. She pulled Qin Feng and ran. After a while, the two of them arrived at a cave thousands of meters away. "Yun beauty, why did you bring me here?" Qin Feng sneered in his heart. but his face was full of doubt. Ling Yun was so excited that she wanted to laugh out loud. She could finally vent the anger that she had been holding in for several days. Qiao, you dared to violate my body 4 days ago. Today, I will tear you into pieces. Ling Yun's body turned cold. She suddenly pulled out her sword and pointed it at Qin Feng. However, Qin Feng's expression was indifferent, as if he didn't see it. Ling Yun, you want to kill me again? Killing you would be too easy, bitch. Hurry up and hand over the spiritual weapon and elixir, and I can leave your corpse intact. Now that time was tight, Ling Yun didn't talk nonsense. If Sun Dao and Xie Long found something wrong and came looking for them, it would be troublesome. Qin Feng spread out his hands and said, "Do you see a place on me to hide the spiritual weapon? The spiritual weapon and elixir are hidden in the secret room. If you kill me now, don't even think about getting them." Ling Yun was so angry that she pressed her sword against Qin Feng's neck. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Qiao, don't think that I don't dare to kill you. I'll give you one last chance. Where are the treasures? If you don't tell me, I will definitely cut off your dog head." A cold light flashed in Qin Feng's eyes. He suddenly sneered and said, "Ha! Do you really think you can kill me? Then do it." Ling Yun was so angry that her body trembled. For a moment, she lost her mind. She shook her sword. But there was no scene of a head falling to the ground. Qin Feng's fingers clamped the sword, and it fell to the ground again. You. Ling Yun's expression changed greatly. She was so scared that she kept retreating. She couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. She was about to use her true qi, but she found that it was suddenly suppressed. Qin Feng had already walked up with a smile. Tis K. I really didn't expect you to have such a venomous heart. Luckily, I had a trick up my sleeve and put poison in the antidote pill you ate. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to keep my life. Qin Feng's words almost made Ling Yun vomit blood. She finally came to her senses. Qiao looked silly, but in fact, he was more cunning than anyone else. Ling Yun's heart was in a mess due to the sudden change in the situation. Not only did she fail to snatch Qin Feng's spiritual weapons and spiritual pills, but she was also being controlled by him. What do you want? Qin Feng was less than a meter away, and Ling Yun's legs began to tremble. Don't be afraid. I won't kill you. It's just that your sincerity is starting to make me suspicious. I should go find your sect's great elder and give him some benefits. In the future, he will be able to protect me. Ling Yun was so frightened that her face turned deathly pale. If the great elder found out that she was hiding the matter of the spiritual weapons and spiritual pills, she might as well let Qin Feng kill her right now. Ling Yun realized that she was really done for this time. Her eyes darted around quickly. She suddenly pulled off the ribbon around her waist and threw herself into Qin Feng's arms. Feng's Qi of Ti Feng, Kama Yin. This woman's expression changed as she wished. She knelt in front of Qin Feng and buried her head in his thighs. Qin Feng didn't stop her. He tyrannically ravaged Ling Yun. The mountain valley was filled with shouts and shouts. Qin Feng's emotions surged as he looked at the crowd below. Ling Yun, how dare you take County Magistrate Qiao away? What do you want? While the two of them were fighting fiercely, Sun Dao and Xie Long came to find them. They thought that Ling Yun wanted to take Qin Feng's spiritual weapon for herself. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the cave, they were stunned. Qin Feng didn't see Sun Dao and Xie Long. Ling Yun was shy. Qin Feng was too powerful. Ling Yun didn't want to stop. She pretended she didn't see anything. 20 minutes later, the two came out. Sun Dao and Xie Long were waiting with more than 10 disciples. Ling Yun's shouts made them feel like a cat was scratching their hearts. But they could do nothing but listen. Ling Yun, are you shameless? You can do such a thing to get the spirit weapon. You're so despicable. Xie Long and Sun Dao were so angry that smoke came out of their heads. They were flattering Qin Feng. Whoever could have a good relationship with Qin Feng would get the spirit weapon sooner or later. But as men, Xie Long and Sun Dao couldn't use a honey trap. They couldn't take the soap, right? The main thing was that Qiao didn't mean to throw the soap. Ling Yun was embarrassed. But she pretended nothing happened. She stared at the two and said, I admire County Magistrate Qiao. What does it have to do with you? Anyway, you can't play with me. You can't eat the grapes, so you say the grapes are sour. Ling Yin'er's words made the two angry. They were jealous of Qin Feng. In any case, Ling Yin'er was a genius disciple of the spirit beast sect. Her beauty was outstanding, and her figure was indescribable. Who would have thought that she would be casually toyed with by a mere county magistrate surnamed Qiao? As for the other disciples, they didn't even dare to fantasize. Humph. The elders sent us here to inquire about the military situation. But you're messing around here. If the elders hear about this, you won't have a good ending. Sun Dao complained coldly. Ling Yin'er said anxiously, I didn't see you go to inquire about the military situation. You've been eavesdropping at the entrance of the cave, right? You're a perverted but coward. Sun Dao's face darkened. He pulled out his sword and attacked. You said I'm a coward? I'll let you know my power today. Ling Yin'er was shocked. She couldn't use her true qi now. Seeing that the sword was about to pierce through her, Xie Long suddenly punched Sun Dao back. What time is it now? You're still fighting among yourselves. The war between the two cities is imminent. We don't even know if we can survive this war. Save your energy to kill the enemy. Sun Dao's strength was inferior to Xie Long. He sheathed his sword and stood aside angrily. Ling Yin'er broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, Xie Long intervened in time. Otherwise, she would have died here. The few of them were a little unhappy, but at this time, Xie Long and Sun Dao's expressions changed. They took out their weapons and looked at the sky behind them. Everyone be careful, there's an enemy coming up. Xie Long, who was at the 5th layer of true qi, was the strongest existence in the group. Just as he finished speaking, a dozen or so black shadows suddenly jumped out from the mountain peak. The first 3 people were extremely fast, and before Xie Long could see them clearly, they were already standing on top of the mountain peak not far away. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following that, another dozen or so people jumped up. The number of people on both sides was about the same. Qin Feng had long since looked over there. His heart sank. There were 3 old men with unfathomable strength. Even he couldn't see through their realms. Humph. It really is a sacred gate disciple sent from the distant ice city. One of the old men wearing a green robe was the first to speak. It was Elder Qiao Yi of Jiqin. Beside him stood a man and a woman. The man was wearing a red cloak, and his white robe was engraved with the image of a burning cloud. It was Elder Bai Qi of Yinshan. The female Taoist nun was dressed in green, and there was a crescent moon pattern on her arm. She was the old Taoist nun of Moonfall Spring. The expressions of Ling Yin'er and the others changed drastically. They had long since recognized Qiao Yi. Qin Fen also recognized Qiao Yi. Not long ago, Qin Fen had fought against him on the beach of Hero City. As for the other 2, this was the first time Qin Fen had met them. However, he could tell which sect they belonged to based on their attire. Is there no one else in the distant ice city? They only sent you little assassins to scout out the situation? I heard that Ling Chong from the Spirit Beast sect came. Xie Juetian from the White Song sect and Sun He from the Red Sun sect also came. Could it be that these 3 old bastards are afraid of us? They don't even dare to show their faces. Qiao Yi and the others had cold and arrogant expressions. They didn't put Ling Yin'er and the others in their eyes at all. Ling Yin'er and the others were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. The 3 in front of them were revered experts at the 6th stage of true qi. They could kill them with a single palm. The atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. Ling Yin'er and the others didn't dare to say anything for a long time. Ji Chun and Qiao Yi spoke again. You bunch of ants, why aren't you kneeling and begging for mercy? If I'm in a good mood, I can spare your lives. Ling Yin'er and the others' expressions darkened. They were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. Seeing that they didn't move, Qiao Yi casually slapped down. Before anyone could react, one of the Spirit Beast sect's disciples at the 3rd stage of true qi exploded into a pile of flesh and blood. The surroundings immediately became quiet. Only the howling wind could be heard. Ling Yin'er and the others' eyes were filled with fear. Some of the disciples' legs started to tremble, and 3 of them ran down the mountain. Want to run? Do you think we don't exist? Yu Luo Quan's Taoist nun fan Yu swept the horsetail whisk in her hand. Two of the disciples immediately exploded. Yun Huashan and Bai Qi pointed 2 fingers into the air, and a blue light shot out. Another disciple suddenly fell to the ground and couldn't get up. His blood flowed like a river. 3 experts at the 3rd stage of true Qi fell just like that. It all happened in the span of a breath. The strength of Qiao Yi and the others was too strong. Under this intimidation, Ling Yun and the others no longer had the heart to resist. Plop. The 8 or 9 disciples had already knelt on the ground and started kowtowing to the enemy's elders. Ling Yun and the others had faces full of struggle, but in the end, they all succumbed and knelt down. Qiao Yi and the others had a complacent expression on their faces. But halfway through their smiles, Bai Qi's face suddenly turned cold. On the opposite peak, everyone was kneeling in a row. But this stinking brat was still standing straight with a smile on his face? Stinking brat, do you want to die? Bai Qi roared angrily, like a muffled thunder falling from the sky. Ling Yun and the others also realized that Qin Feng was still standing. They were depressed to death. First, this person pretended to be pretentious in front of them. Not long ago, he pretended to be pretentious in front of the 3 great elders of distant Ice City. Now he pretended to be pretentious in front of the great elder of Meteor City. Lord Qiao, hurry up and kneel. Ling Yun couldn't help but remind him. She didn't care about Qin Feng's life or death. She was mainly afraid that Qin Feng would anger the opposite elder. At that time, everyone would be in trouble. 3 great elders, don't be angry. That brat is just a county magistrate. His status is low, and he doesn't know your esteemed status. Xialong hurriedly put in a good word. Sun Dao echoed. And that guy is a bit retarded. Not long ago, he almost quarreled with our Red Sun sect's great elder Sun He. Chapter 1371. The Sacred Gate disciples from distant Ice City were infuriated by Qin Feng's behavior, but Qin Feng suddenly shouted, "Why should we kneel and beg for mercy? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself first? What is your Meteor City? How can the 3 sacred gates compare to our distant Ice City?" Qin Feng's words stunned everyone. Ling Yun and the others trembled in fear and felt death approaching. Qiao Yi and the other 2 elders were stunned. Disbelief flashed through their eyes. And they even suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. "Trash ant, I'll show you what Mount Yunhua is capable of." White Blaze waved her hand, and a blue sword beam shot out from her sleeve. Just as it was about to pierce through Qin Feng's head, Qiao Yi casually slapped it away, and the sword beam landed on the ground beside them, blasting a hole in the mountain peak. Bai Qi was stunned. She glared at Qiao Yi and shouted, "Qiao, what do you mean by this? Are you siding with an outsider?" Ji Chun and Qiao Yi glared at Bai Qi coldly and said, "I, Ji Chun, am the leader of Meteor City's Sacred Gate. My sect master has given the order that this city battle will be carried out in the form of a duel between experts. I don't want to fight to the death." The meaning of Qiao Ye's words was clear enough. Bai Qi and Fan Yu's expressions turned ugly, but they didn't attack again. They had only killed a few ordinary disciples from distant Ice City as a show. They wouldn't really start a massacre, because that would mean that they would fight to the death. However, Qin Feng's words were too arrogant. Qiao Yi shouted with a cold face, "Stinking brat, you're just a county magistrate. How dare you look down on the sacred gate of Meteor City? If you don't kneel, do you believe that I won't slap you to death?" Qiao Yi was a powerful cultivator at the 6th layer of true Qi. Just his aura alone was enough to make Ling Yun and the others gasp for breath. They secretly gave Qin Feng meaningful looks. "Look at the situation right now, can't you fucking calm down a little?" However, Qin Feng held his head high and said, "I don't believe it." Everyone couldn't help but be puzzled. Qiao Ye's old eyes almost fell to the ground. Fan Yu and White Blaze were so angry that they started to smile coldly. Without waiting for Qiao Yi to make a move, Ling Yun already shouted, "Elder Qiao, why you can't kill Magistrate Qiao? He's the illegitimate son of our spirit beast sect's Grand Elder Ling Chong." In a moment of desperation, Ling Yun could tell any lie she wanted. She didn't really care about Qin Feng's life and death. She just couldn't watch as the spiritual weapons and spiritual pills disappeared just like that. Everyone was stunned again. Even Sun Dao and Xie Long stole a glance at Ling Yuner in disbelief. However, the two of them quickly recovered. Their thoughts were exactly the same as Ling Yuner's. Yes. Xiao Zhixian is the illegitimate son of Grand Elder Ling Chong. Even the sacred gate of distant Ice City knows about this. 3 elders, please let us go. If you really kill us, this city war will not end until one of us is dead. Xie Long and Sun Dao also started to plead for mercy. The two of them weren't stupid. When they heard Xiao Yi say that they wanted to use the city war method, they used the threat of not ending until they die to scare him. Xiao Yi and the other two were still in a daze. They still had doubts about Qin Feng being Ling Chong's illegitimate son. However, the situation was special. They would rather believe it than not. If Qin Feng was really Ling Chong's illegitimate son, killing him now would be troublesome. Why you're really Ling Chong's illegitimate son? White Blaze couldn't help but ask. Qin Feng was speechless at Ling Yuner. He glared at White Blaze and said, "And who are you?" White Blaze couldn't stand Qin Feng's arrogance. He suppressed his anger and said, "I'm Cloud Volcano's elder White Blaze." "Oh, you're an idiot. This name suits your temperament very well." White Blaze's expression changed. She jumped up and down in anger. "Are you deaf? My name is White Blaze. Blaze as in blazing. For sounds. You're an idiot. I know you're an idiot." Qin Feng had an indifferent attitude. White Blaze was fuming with anger. Ling Yuner and the others looked at him dumbfoundedly. They began to suspect that this brat was here to court death. Whoosh! Just as the atmosphere was about to explode, a pink light flashed. White Blaze's expression changed drastically. He slapped Sun Dao, who was kneeling on the ground. "Brat, you dare to plot against me?" Boom! The cosmic flying sword missed its target and smashed a mountain top. At the same time, Sun Dao's body was also smashed. This true Qi level 4 expert didn't know what happened before he died. He was already kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. Why did he still want to kill him? White Blaze's palm completely turned the tide of the battle. Ling Yuner and Xie Long drew their swords. They thought that the other party was going to kill them. The 8 or 9 disciples also flew up, ready to fight to the death. Rumble. For a moment, the mountain was filled with loud noises. The disciples from the 3 sacred gates of distant Ice City were only at the 3rd or 4th level of true Qi. They couldn't even withstand a single blow from Xiao Yi and the other 2 old monsters who were at the 6th level of true Qi. Xie Long was the strongest, but he was only at the 5th level of true Qi. After enduring a few moves, he was smashed into pieces by Xiao Yi. Ling Yuner died even faster. When she raised her sword and rushed to the front of the opponent's disciple, she suddenly remembered that the true Qi in her body was sealed by poison. There was no need for Xiao Yi and the other 2 elders to do anything. The group of Sacred Gate disciples from Meteor City would kill her. This battle started because of Qin Feng's flying sword. But at this moment, he was nowhere to be seen at the peak of MT visualization. Not good. Ling Chong's illegitimate son escaped. Xiao Ye's expression changed drastically. White Blaze looked at the scattered flesh and blood around him, and was slightly worried. Looks like this city battle will not end until one side is dead. Who was the one who attacked just now? Fan Yu had already calmed down. Suspicion arose in her heart. The two of them looked at White Blaze. It was White Blaze who attacked first. White Blaze looked at the location of Sun Dao's corpse. His expression changed unpredictably. His eyes lit up as if he suddenly realized something. He was so angry that the veins on his face bulged. The flying sword was shot from Sun Dao's direction, so White Blaze naturally thought that it was a sneak attack. Now that he thought about it, Qin Feng was standing behind Sun Dao. Ling Chong's illegitimate son is too cunning. He has been hiding his strength. That sword was his sneak attack. White Blaze suddenly shouted. Xiao Yi and Fan Yu's expressions changed. The 3 of them could tell that Qin Feng was just an ordinary person without any true Qi. It was also because of this that White Blaze didn't think that Qin Feng was the one who shot the sword at White Blaze. That was why he was in such an irreversible situation. What a chow! It must be Ling Chong who ordered that brat to do this. Looks like distant Ice City has already decided to fight until one side is dead. Let's retreat. I'll go back and report this to the sect leader. Xiao Yi leaped and flew down the mountain. At the same time, Qin Feng also descended the mountain. Ling Chong and the others immediately surrounded him. Why is it only you who came down? Where are Ling Yun'er and the others? Ling Chong glared at Qin Feng coldly. From the beginning to the end, he didn't care about a mere county magistrate. Qin Feng said with a panicked expression, "No, it's bad. The sacred gate of Meteor City is going to start a massacre. They won't stop until one side is dead." The few of us had just ascended the mountain, and that elder Qiao Yi brought people to kill Ling Yun'er and the others without saying anything. What? Is what you said true? Ling Chong roared angrily. It was as if the earth was shaking. The disciples from the sacred gate all had bitter expressions. The able-bodied men who were captured were even more disheartened. Everyone was afraid that the battle would not stop until one side was dead. Anyone would be afraid of death. Ling Chong's expression changed. He suddenly glared at Qin Feng. That's not right. If they were going to fight until one side is dead, how did you escape? Everyone cast doubtful gazes at Qin Feng. They could tell that Qin Feng didn't have any true qi waves on him. He was just an ordinary person. Even Ling Yun'er and the others had died. How did Qin Feng escape? Great Elder Ling Chong, those people let me go because I don't have any martial arts. They let me come back to pass the message. That old man called Qiao Yi is too arrogant. He said that he wanted to massacre distant Ice City. He wanted the sacred gate to surrender quickly. Otherwise, they would all die under his blade. Qin Feng had already thought of an excuse on the way back. Originally, the sacred gates of both cities hoped that the battle would be carried out through a battle between experts. Now that Qin Feng had sowed dissension, it had reached the point where one side would not stop until one side was dead. Ling Chong stared at Qin Feng for a long time. He suddenly roared toward the sky. Damn that Ji Chun. He dares to not put my spirit beast sect in his eyes. I will go back and report to the sect leader. We will fight until one side is dead. After Qin Feng's provocation, the top elders of both sides rushed back to their sects to report the situation. It seemed like a huge battle could break out at any time. The troops of both sides were only separated by a mountain. Without Ling Chong's command, everyone held back. Qin Feng ran to the group of able-bodied men. County Magistrate Xiao. As soon as he arrived, the group of able-bodied men immediately greeted him respectfully. Although the Sacred Gate disciples looked down on Qin Feng's status as a county magistrate, these poor people were very afraid of him. County Magistrate Xiao, are we really going to fight until one side is dead? A burly man walked to Qin Feng's side. What is your name? Qin Feng asked. The burly man immediately answered, Lord Xiao, this lowly one is Gao Jin. I am a villager from Miao Village in West Town. Qin Feng had stayed in West Town for a period of time. He had heard about the 3 villages. Apart from Hua Village, where Hua Xiaozhen was, there was also Miao Village and Water Village. Gao Jin looked honest. He trembled in fear when he spoke to Qin Feng. He should be a practical man who was willing to endure hardship. However, he was captured to be an able-bodied man because of the war between the 2 cities. Qin Feng thought of the second side mission of the city war. He was asked to protect the poor people and change their rigid mindset. Qin Feng came to this group of able-bodied men to complete this mission. Gao Jin, it has been confirmed that the 2 cities will fight until one side is dead. Ling Chong has already gone back to the sect to ask the sect leader. When he returns, it will be the start of the war. When that time comes, everyone will die. Qin Feng said. Chapter 1372. Qin Feng saw the desire to die in Gao Jin's eyes and continued. Do you want to live? Gao Jin was stunned. He looked at Qin Feng dumbfoundedly and nodded. I want to live. Then let's escape tonight. Let's take everyone with us. Qin Feng already had a series of plans in mind. Tonight was the best time for Gao Jin to escape with the able-bodied men. However, Gao Jin was shocked and immediately knelt in front of Qin Feng. Magistrate Xiao, please spare my life. I shouldn't have thought of living. I will fight to the death for distant Ice City. Qin Feng was stunned. He was almost amused by the conservative mindset of the people in China. What kind of people were they? Hurry and stand up. Do you want to live or not? Qin Feng's face darkened. Gao Jin didn't dare to stand up. He knelt on the ground while shivering. I know Magistrate Qiao is testing my will. Don't worry, I won't have any thoughts of living anymore. Qin Feng couldn't bear to listen any longer. He wanted to slap this man awake. He forcefully pulled Gao Jing up and whispered in his ear, I'm not testing you. You want to live, and I also want to live. Everyone is born equal. Why is the life of a sacred gate disciple so precious? Why are people from the Yamen superior to others? Even if you don't want to live, you have to think about your family, right? If you really die, what will happen to them? As a hedonistic young master, Qin Feng rarely educated people. He was always flirting with them. Gao Jin stared at Qin Feng as if he had seen a ghost. He even suspected that Qin Feng had a problem with his brain. How could he say such disgraceful words? Moreover, weren't you from the Yamen? Why were you scolding me? Magistrate Qiao, I still can't escape. As a lowly commoner, my life is in the hands of the Yamen and the Sacred Gate. Now that the two cities are at war, I have to fight. Qin Feng felt his chest tighten. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Fuck you. I've been reasoning with you for so long. Why can't you understand? What lowly commoner? What life is in the hands of others? Even if you help them conquer the city, it won't be yours. You're still trash at the bottom, a dog ordered around by those people. In a fit of anger, Qin Feng's tone was a little harsh. For the first time, a hint of anger appeared in Gao Jing's eyes. He clenched his fists tightly, and looked like he was going to hit Qin Feng. However, it was only for a moment, and he returned to his yes-man appearance. Don't say any more, Qiao Shixian. I won't run away. Qin Feng was so angry that he had internal injuries. He coldly tossed out his last words. Think carefully. If you want to escape, escape with everyone tonight. If you don't escape, you'll die on the battlefield. At that time, your wife will be played by others, your daughter will be sold to a brothel, and your son will continue to be suppressed like you. This is the result you want. Qin Feng angrily swung his sleeves and left. Gao Jin stood in the crowd with bloodshot eyes, unable to regain his senses for a long time. There was still no movement from the troops on either side. Qin Feng found a place with no one, and stepped on his flying sword to the summit of Sunset Peak. He looked at the dense mass of people at the foot of the mountain, and jumped down without hesitation. Who is it? Oh no, the enemy has made a move. Someone among the soldiers of Meteor City shouted. Instantly, the tens of thousands of people went into an uproar. The sound of weapons clashing and all sorts of screams could be heard. Two figures landed beside Qin Feng. The moment they saw Qin Feng, they were infuriated. Brat, you still dare to come back. This is what you get for framing me. I'll kill you with my sword. Fan Yu stood at the side with a cold expression. Bai Qi had already swung his sword, but Qin Feng stood still at the foot of the mountain. He said, I want to see Ji Chen's sect leader. I have a way to help you win this battle. I'm an idiot if I believe you again. Bai Qi didn't stop. Seeing that his sword was about to pierce through Qin Feng, Fan Yu waved her horsetail whisk and stopped him. You're an idiot. I already knew that. Qin Feng said as if nothing had happened. Bai Qi was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He glared at Fan Yu and shouted, You better move away, or else I won't be polite. Fan Yu was speechless at Qin Feng's words. She stood in front of Qin Feng and said, Don't be so agitated. Let's listen to this brat's plan first. What plan can he have? He's from distant Ice City, and he's the illegitimate son of that old fart, Ling Chong. Do you think he'll help Meteor City? Bai Qi didn't believe Qin Feng even if he was beaten to death. Fan Yu didn't believe it either. But now that the two cities were at war, Fan Yu was worried. She placed her hope on Qin Feng. If Qin Feng was lying, she could just kill him with another sword. Don't mention that bastard Ling Chong to me. He caused so much trouble for me and my mother. I want to kill him with my own hands. Qin Feng's face suddenly turned sinister, giving Fan Yu and Bai Qi a fright. Keep pretending, you brat. Do you think I'll believe you with just a few words? Unless I'm Bai. Bai Qi swallowed the last word. He didn't think there was anything wrong with his name, but now he wanted to change it. Fan Yu ignored Bai Qi and glared at Qin Feng. Tell me what plan you have. If you're lying, I'll kill you with one palm. Qin Feng acted as if he didn't hear Fan Yu's threat. I said we'll talk when we meet Ji Chen's sect leader. Even if I tell you now, you won't be able to make the decision. You'll have to report to the sect leader. Why make it so troublesome? Fan Yu was so angry that her face turned pale. She almost couldn't control herself and slapped Qin Feng to death. Bai Qi shouted again. You saw it too. Look at how capable this brat is. Does he really think he's a big deal? Let me kill him with one sword. Qin Feng leisurely stood at the foot of the mountain, allowing Bai Qi and Fan Yu to quarrel. In the end, Bai Qi took a step back. He didn't want to see the two cities fight to the death. Bai Qi stayed behind to continue guarding the sunset visualization mountain, while Fan Yu brought Qin Feng to where Ji Chen was. Qin Feng's heart was filled with excitement. He had been searching for the location of the sect in the Despair Realm and now, he finally found one. At the same time, the main hall of Ji Chen's sect was filled with people. Not only Elder Ji Chen, but there were also people from Cloud Volcano and Yuluoquan. Those who could stand in the hall were all important people from the three sections. The Great Elder stood in a row, while the Junior Elder stood outside as guards. Even the sect leaders of the three sects were gathered here. A white-haired old man sat on a stone lion chair in the main hall. He looked very weak, but he was Ji Chen's sect leader, Ji Hun. There were two people sitting at the front of the stone chairs. The man was Cloud Volcano's sect leader, Bai Xingdou, and the woman was Yuluoquan's sect leader, Lady Fan. Xiao Yi was standing in the middle of the main hall. He had just finished reporting the situation in distant Ice City. The atmosphere in the main hall was heavy. All the elders and sect leaders were frowning. With their current status and power, who would be willing to fight to the death? The Spirit Beast sect thinks too highly of themselves, don't they? Threatening us with a fight to the death? Do they really think we're afraid of them? After a long while, Qiao Hun slapped the stone chair and stood up. The sturdy stone lion immediately shattered into pieces. Sect leader Qiao, we need to analyze the situation calmly. We can't lose our composure. Yuluoquan's sect leader, Lady Fan, immediately stood up and advised. The people sitting in the row all stood up. Bai Xingdou echoed Lady Fan's words and said, Lady Fan is right. Our three sacred sects have been rooted in Meteor City for decades. Now that our foundation is stable and we're developing rapidly, how can we be destroyed just like that? If we really fight to the death with distant Ice City, even if we win in the end, the sacred sects from the other cities will come to reap the benefits. The rest of the people nodded, expressing their agreement with Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou's words. However, everyone's status was too low, so no one dared to speak up. Qiao Hun, on the other hand, calmed down a little. He suddenly looked at Xiao Yi and said, I clearly told you to negotiate and start the war with experts. How did it become a fight to the death? The three sects of the Spirit Beast sect are not brainless people. Xiao Hun's words made everyone realize that there was indeed something fishy going on. Everyone looked at Xiao Yi, and he was so scared that he almost knelt down. Sect leader Qiao, it's Ling Chong's illegitimate son. Qiao Hun and the other two sect leaders were shocked. They knew who Ling Chong was, but when did he have an illegitimate son outside? What illegitimate son? Who is that guy? Qiao Hun roared angrily, and the entire hall shook. However, before Qiao Yi could speak, a young elder from Jichen walked in from outside. Sect leader Qiao, Elder Fan Yu of Moonfall Spring requests an audience. She said that she brought Ling Chong's illegitimate son here. Time in the hall seemed to have stopped for a few seconds. Everyone was talking about Qin Feng, but Fan Yu had already brought him over. Qiao Hun gave the order, and Fan Yu had already brought Qin Feng into the hall. Inside the house were the Great Elder and the sect leader. Even with little Elder Fan Yu's status, she was only a lackey. The moment Qin Feng entered the house, he was shocked. The true energy in the house was surging and surging, as if it was boundless and boundless like the vast ocean. There were even three people whose strength Qin Feng couldn't see clearly. Everyone's gazes fell on Qin Feng, making him slightly nervous. The weakest person in the hall was at the 5th stage of true energy, and the strongest three were at an unknown level. Qin Feng felt that even if he brought out the black dragon tank, he might not have a chance of winning. This is Ling Chong's illegitimate son? Is his identity fake? Xiao Han asked coldly. Fan Yu's voice trembled slightly. Replying sect leader Qiao, he is indeed Ling Chong's illegitimate son. How would Fan Yu know if Qin Feng was Ling Chong's illegitimate son? But even if he wasn't, she still had to admit it. It would be very scary to anger sect leader Xiao Han. Chapter 1373. Just as Xiao Han finished speaking, two of Ji Chen's junior elders entered the room. Without another word, they escorted Qin Feng out of the room. Fan Yu said, "Qiao, sect leader Qiao, calm down. This kid says he wants to discuss something with you." Everyone was shocked as they looked at Fan Yu with strange expressions. The sect master of Yu Luoquan, Fairy Fan, had a cold expression as she shouted, "Fan Yu, what are you doing? Sect leader Xiao Han is an illegitimate son of Ling Chong. Does he deserve to talk to you?" Fan Yu trembled in fear. She naturally knew of Xiao Han's esteemed status. He was practically the king of Meteor City. However, the war between the two cities was critical, and no one wanted to fight to the death. Qin Feng said he had a way to help Meteor City win. That was why she took the risk to bring Qin Feng here. Sect leader Immortal, please calm down. This kid said he has a way to help Meteor City win. Fan Yu said hurriedly. The huge hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone stared at Fan Yu with different expressions. Some even suspected that there was something wrong with the nun's head. Bastard. That kid is Ling Chong's illegitimate son. Why would he help Meteor City? Hurry up and take him to the prison. I'll kill anyone who dares to say another word. Xiao Han's enraged roar was so powerful that it caused the great elders to shudder in fear. Lady Immortal and Bai Xingdou didn't dare to speak anymore. Fan Yu was so scared that her legs trembled, and she almost knelt down. Ji Chen's junior elder had already left with Qin Feng. Qin Feng suddenly said, "Sect leader Qiao, are you really going to miss the chance to defeat Distant Ice City? Do you want to fight to the death?" Everyone in the room had a cold expression, and dozens of murderous auras shot towards Qin Feng. Qin Feng acted as if he didn't see it and continued, "Forget it. Since sect leader Qiao doesn't believe me, I won't say any more." Everyone was speechless. They didn't know what Qin Feng was thinking. Did he think they were 3-year-olds? Seeing that he was being escorted to the door, Xiao Han suddenly shouted, "Wait! Let's hear what this kid has to say first." Everyone in the hall was stunned and looked at Xiao Han in surprise. He actually believed Ling Chong's illegitimate son? Without waiting for Qin Feng to speak, Fairy Fan stepped forward and said, "Sect leader Xiao Han, please reconsider." Bai Xingdou also said, "This kid was obviously sent by the enemy to disrupt our morale. Sect leader Qiao, don't believe his nonsense." Bai Xingdou and Lady Fan weren't the only ones who didn't believe him. The elders in the room were also shaking their heads. However, their status was limited, so they didn't even dare to say anything. Humph. He's just an ant that hasn't even stepped into the realm of true qi. If he really dares to play any tricks, I can destroy him at any time. Xiao Han had a nonchalant look on his face, as though he did not care about Qin Feng at all. Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou stopped trying to persuade him. Just as Xiao Han had said, Qin Feng did not even have any vital qi in his body. What could an ant like him do? Everyone's gaze fell back on Qin Feng. They really wanted to hear what kind of plan he had. This kid really had guts to come to Ji Chen's sect alone. Sect leader Qiao. Your sect doesn't want to fight to the death, right? Qin Feng stood at the door with a casual expression, making it more and more difficult for everyone to understand him. Nonsense, no one wants to fight to the death. Xiao Han revealed an impatient expression. Qin Feng waved his hand and said, "Sect leader Qiao, you're wrong. Your Meteor City doesn't want to fight to the death, but the 3 sacred sects of Distant Ice City came to attack the city with the determination to die." Qin Feng's words caused the hall to gasp. Everyone knew from Qiao Yi that Distant Ice City wanted to fight to the death, but it felt completely different when they heard it from Qin Feng's mouth. "Is what you said true? Where did you get this information from?" Xiao Han's expression changed as he stared at Qin Feng solemnly. "Of course I heard it from the Spirit Beast sect. Now the sect leader of the Spirit Beast sect is gathering the disciples of the White Song sect and the Red Sun sect. They are expected to attack tonight. The gasps in the hall became even more intense. The elders and even the 3 sect leaders looked flustered. Xiao Hun's eyes lit up, and he suddenly said, "Wait, you didn't purposely spread the news, did you? If Distant Ice City really wanted to attack, they would have sent out a declaration of war in advance. Now that Meteor City hasn't received any news, how would they dare to attack?" Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou also calmed down. According to the rules of the past city wars, they would send out the attack signal in advance. Bai Xingdou said, "Sect leader Qiao, I still don't believe that brat's nonsense. No matter what, he's from Distant Ice City. Why would he be kind enough to help us? Let's take that brat to the prison first and wait for Ling Chong to come." Lady Fan also expressed her opinion. Xiao Hun didn't rush to make a decision. After hesitating for a while, he said, "Little aunt, you've been talking nonsense for so long. What's your plan?" Qin Feng said unhurriedly, "According to the information I received, the 3 sacred sects of Distant Ice City are going to attack Jichen tonight. As long as Jichen is killed, Moonfall Spring and Cloudy Volcano are no longer a threat. Sect leader Qiao can lead an elite force to attack the Spirit Beast sect, catch them off guard, and take down their base." Qin Feng had already thought of this plan, but he had offended the 3 sect leaders as soon as he said it. "Brat, how dare you say that my Cloudy Volcano is not a threat? I want to see how capable you are." Bai Xingdou was the first to jump up and slashed at Qin Feng with his saber. Lady Fan waved her horsetail whisk, and several murderous auras flew over. Bai Xingdou attacked, but he wanted to kill Qin Feng first. The great elders had playful looks on their faces, and they looked as if Qin Feng was going to die. However, Xiao Hun was standing in front of Qin Feng out of nowhere, and casually dispelled the two's killing moves with 2 palms. Sect leader Qiao. The 2 looked at Xiao Hun in confusion. Xiao Hun waved his long sleeves and said in a deep voice, "This is Ji Chun. Without my order, no one is allowed to do anything." Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou were a little unhappy, but they still returned to their seats. Everyone stared at Qin Feng fiercely. If it wasn't for Xiao Hun, they thought that Qin Feng would have died a few hundred times. "Why should I believe you?" Xiao Hun glared at Qin Feng. "It's up to you whether you believe me or not, sect leader Qiao. Anyway, the war between the 2 cities has nothing to do with me. I'm just a small county magistrate of Far Ice City's west town. No matter which side wins, I won't get any benefits," Qin Feng said. "Aren't you Ling Chong's illegitimate son? How did you become a county magistrate?" Xiao Hun looked confused. Qin Feng should have joined the Spirit Beast sect to cultivate. However, Xiao Hun suddenly realized that Qin Feng had no true qi on him. He had never cultivated before. Unexpectedly, Qin Feng suddenly flew into a rage. He pointed at Xiao Hun and shouted, "Shut up! Don't mention that bastard Ling Chong." Everyone was shocked, and their eyes and jaws dropped to the ground. Even Bai Xingdou and Lady Fan had to give in to Xiao Hun, and the great elder in the room didn't even dare to speak to Xiao Hun. Who would have thought that Qin Feng would point at Xiao Hun's nose and scold him in front of everyone? Xiao Hun's face darkened, and true qi surged out of his body, pressuring everyone so much that they didn't even dare to breathe. "Brat, do you want to die?" Qin Feng looked at Xiao Hun dumbly and said, "Sect leader Qiao, why are you so angry? I'm scolding that bastard Ling Chong, not you." Xiao Hun's face was gloomy, but he didn't want to reprimand Qin Feng. He suddenly looked at Xiao Yi and said, "I asked you to gather information, and you said that the Spirit Beast sect is prepared to fight to the death. Is that true?" Xiao Hun was starting to believe Qin Feng's words. Qin Feng was just an ordinary person who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Why would he lie? Even if Distant Ice City wanted to find someone to sow discord, they should have found someone who was more powerful. Xiao Yi didn't know whether Distant Ice City was prepared to fight to the death or not. In fact, those were just his guesses. He didn't mention that he had killed Ling Yun, and the others, mainly because he was afraid that sect leader Xiao Hun would blame him. Now that he had killed a few of their genius disciples, it was obvious that the situation was going to escalate to the death. Sect leader Qiao, according to my information, Distant Ice City indeed has such intentions. Moreover, Bai Qi and Fan Yu were there at the time. They heard it too. Qiao Yi wasn't stupid. He was going to drag two people down with him, even if he was going to die. Bai Qi was still guarding the sunset-gazing mountain, but Fan Yu was standing in the house. Her face was cold, and she was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. But since things had already come to this, Fan Yu could only help Qiao Yi lie. After all, she had also killed a disciple of Distant Ice City. Sect leader Qiao, Elder Qiao Yi is speaking the truth. Bai Qi and I heard it too, Fan Yu said. At this moment, everyone was sure that Distant Ice City was going to fight to the death, and their hearts were incomparably worried. Xiao Hun was a little flustered. He suddenly looked at Qin Feng and placed all his hopes on him. After reanalyzing Qin Feng's plan, Xiao Hun felt that it was feasible. As long as they could take down Distant Ice City's biggest sacred sect, Spirit Beast Sect, they wouldn't have to fear White Song and Red Sunday sect leaders. What do you think? Xiao Hun still couldn't make up his mind. He looked at Bai Xingdou and Lady Fan. The two of them were also anxious. Bai Xingdou said, "Since it's going to be a fight to the death, why don't we try according to that kid's plan? We won't be at a disadvantage anyway." Lady Fan nodded and said, "We can give it a try. This battle is unavoidable." The two of them had the same thought as Xiao Hun. If the three sacred sects of Distant Ice City wanted to fight to the death, there would be a battle sooner or later. Even if Qin Feng's words were false, they could just kill their way to Spirit Beast Sect and start fighting. "All right, I will believe you this once. If you lie to us, I will definitely smash you into pieces." After a moment of silence, Xiao Hun made the final decision. Those great elders had no right to speak. Xiao Hun's words were the law. The battle was imminent. Lady Fan and Bai Xingdou had already left with their people. Since they were going to attack Spirit Beast Sect tonight, they would return to the sect to gather the elite disciples. Chapter 1374. Qin Feng had devised a strategy, and this city battle was almost under his control. At the same time, Spirit Beast Sect was having an emergency meeting, and the representatives of the three sacred sects were all gathered here. Ling Chong had already explained the situation, and the atmosphere in the hall was heavy. The sacred sects of Meteor City are too arrogant. They killed our disciples without saying a word. Do they think we don't exist? A gray-robed elder suddenly stood up, and his anger reached the sky. This person was the sect master of White Warehouse Sect, Xie Qingping. The white-robed elder sitting opposite him also stood up. There was a red sun pattern engraved on his chest, and it was the sect master of Red Sun Sect, Sun Ju. Sect Master Ling, say something. Why don't we attack them at night and annihilate them? On the high platform sat a white-robed elder. His clothes were engraved with bird and beast patterns. This was the uniform of Spirit Beast Sect, and the elder was the sect master of Spirit Beast Sect, Ling Jinfeng. The gazes of everyone in the room all landed on Ling Jinfeng, waiting for his command. In comparison, Meteor City's three sacred gates were slightly weaker than Distant Ice City. If they were to fight to the death, would they still be afraid of Meteor City? Ling Jinfeng suddenly stood up, and everyone below the platform stood up as well. He paced to the center of the crowd with his hands behind his back. After a while he said, "Based on my understanding of Xiao Hun, he won't start a fight to the death. This matter is a little strange. Let's not move first and see what they are up to." With Ling Jinfeng's order, no one dared to object. The elite disciples of the three sacred sects of Distant Ice City gathered in Spirit Beast Sect and decided to observe the situation tonight. The night was getting late, and not a single soul could be seen on the streets and alleys of the two cities. The disciples of the sects gathered in the sect and prepared to depart. The able-bodied men who were captured stood guard at the foot of MT Sunset. The poor people hid in their homes and didn't dare to go out. The night seemed peaceful, but a great battle was about to begin. A half-moon rose into the sky. Gao Jin sat at the foot of the cliff, looked up at the moon, and lowered his head to think of his hometown. Ever since Qin Feng told him that in the afternoon, Gao Jin couldn't calm down. His mind was filled with his wife's smile, his elderly mother's hunched back, and the crying of his newborn child. He suddenly began to question his own thoughts. What right did he have to fight to the death? What did the sacred gate and the yamen give him? Zhang, are you asleep? Gao Jing's expression changed as if he had made the most difficult and important decision in his life. A brawny man beside him rubbed his sleepy eyes and said, "What's wrong, Gao Jin? Why aren't you sleeping? I heard that the war is going to start tomorrow. You have to be mentally prepared." Gao Jin interrupted Zhang and whispered in his ear, "Let's not fight anymore. Let's escape to our hometown tonight." Zhang suddenly jumped up, and his sleepiness was gone. He stared at Gao Jin as if he had seen a ghost. Are you crazy? Why would you have such an idea?" Gao Jin seemed to see his past self. He finally understood why County Magistrate Xiao was so angry before he left. At this moment, Gao Jin was also very angry. He wanted to wake Zhang up with a slap. He didn't waste any more words and told Zhang what Qin Feng had said before he left. "Zhang, after you die, your wife will be played by others, your parents will starve to death, your daughter will become a prostitute, and your son will have the same fate as you, being oppressed by others. If that's what you want, then continue sleeping." Gao Jin had already swung his sleeves and left angrily. Zhang was so stunned that he couldn't come back to his senses. After a moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the half-moon in the sky. His expression changed slightly, and he ran to kick the man beside him to wake him up. "Black Yak, I won't waste any more words with you. If you die, your wife will be played by others, your parents will starve to death, your daughter will become a prostitute, and your son will have the same fate as you. If that's what you want, then wait for the battle tomorrow. I'm going to escape." Black Yak rubbed his sleepy eyes and still hadn't come back to his senses. He saw Gao Jin and Zhang's figures shuttling through the crowd. Every time they pulled up a person, they would repeat what they just said. The words that came out of Qin Feng's mouth became a sharp weapon that awakened the warrior's sealed thoughts. It was like a dagger that sliced open everyone's brains and cut off all the distorted thoughts that had been sealed for a long time. For a moment, tens of thousands of able-bodied men from all over distant Ice City were shaken. With Gao Jin as their leader, they knocked out a few Holy Gate disciples who were guarding the area and fled in panic. "Big brother Gao Jin, where are you going?" Zhang met Gao Jin again in the chaos and saw him climbing up Mt. Guanxia. Gao Jin's expression was resolute, as if he had changed into a different person overnight. "The able-bodied men of Meteor City are as innocent as we are. I'm going to wake them up." Seeing that Gao Jin had already disappeared into the night, Zhang gritted his teeth and followed him. Under the duo's efforts, the tens of thousands of able-bodied men from Meteor City started to resist. The battle between the two sides hadn't even started, but the able-bodied men had already fled in different directions. A group of people rushed over from Meteor City. When they arrived at the foot of Mt. Guanxia, they were stunned. Other than a few Holy Gate disciples who had been knocked out, the able-bodied men were nowhere to be seen. "Xiaoyi, what's going on?" This group of people was led by Qiao Han. They were the Holy Gate disciples of Meteor City, who were preparing to attack the Spirit Beast sex base during the night. Xiaoyi was already dumbfounded. He remembered that everything was still fine before he returned to the sect. Where did the 10,000 able-bodied men go? "Sect Master Qiao, I don't know either. I've been in the sect all afternoon." Xiaoyi was so depressed that he was about to cry. Qin Feng heaved a long sigh of relief. It seemed like he hadn't wasted his time talking to Gao Jin. Fan Yu was also dumbfounded. She didn't understand the situation. At this moment, a black shadow flew over. Just as Qiao Han was about to slash with his blade, he heard the person shouting, "Everyone, don't attack. I'm Elder Bai Qi from Mount Cloud Mountain." Bai Qi's figure landed in front of the crowd. Bai Xingdo hurriedly asked, "Bai Qi, what's going on here?" Bai Qi held a long sword in his hand. There were some bloodstains on his body. It seemed like he had just fought with someone. In reply to Sect Master, the able-bodied men rebelled. They knocked out a few Holy Gate disciples. I chased after them and killed dozens of them, but most of them escaped. The night was already cold and quiet. Bai Qi's words caused the surroundings to sink into a strange atmosphere. The eyes of Qiao Han and the others fell to the ground. The able-bodied men escaped? This was even more terrifying than Qin Feng joining Meteor City. The able-bodied men were a bunch of stubborn commoners who always obeyed the Holy Gate's orders. Did they take the wrong medicine tonight? Xiao Hun only came back to his senses after a long while. He had already cast aside the able-bodied men. The war between the two cities was originally a competition between the Holy Gate's forces. As for those able-bodied men, they were just there to make up the numbers. Speed up and kill our way into the Spirit Beast sect. Xiao Yi gave the order, and the group set off again. A Spirit Beast sect disciple was leading the group. This person was a spy that Ji Chen had planted in the Spirit Beast sect. When everyone crossed the sunset gazing mountain, they were stunned again. They realized that the able-bodied men from distant Ice City had also escaped. Hundreds of horses galloped under the night sky. Those who could join the assault team were all great elders and little elders of the three sections. There were only a few so-called genius disciples. After rushing through the night, everyone arrived at the city gate of the Spirit Beast sect. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. He had finally found the location of the Spirit Beast sect. It was time to avenge Qiao Shishir and rescue the Qiao family of the Spirit Beast Master Clan. Roar roar! Just as the group steadied themselves outside the gate, the angry roars of a few wild beasts pierced through the silent night sky like surging thunder. Everyone's expression changed. Xiao Hun leaped off his horse and roared. The beasts raised by the Spirit Beast sect are really annoying. Everyone kill your way in. The beasts were alarmed. The Spirit Beast sect disciples would definitely notice the situation. Xiao Hun didn't wait for them to react and gave the order to attack. Over 100 true Qi experts flew away. They were as nimble and light as 100 swallows in the night sky. The sounds of fighting and killing could already be heard from within the city gate. The beasts' roars were even more ferocious, and the ground was shaking from the movement of their running. Xiao Hun and the other two sect masters didn't move. They stood outside the city gate and observed the situation. Xiao Hun leaped to Qin Feng's side and pressed his shoulder. "Stinking brat, if you dare to play tricks on me, I'll crush you into pieces with a light pinch." "Don't worry, Sect Master Qiao. The Spirit Beast sect's defenses are weak now. All the experts are on their way to empty Divine Dawn. You three sect masters should attack as well. And this quickly." Qin Feng started to feel nervous. This was Ji Chen's sect master. His strength was unfathomable. Qin Feng was trying to think of a way to escape. Xiao Hun's expression was cold. He suddenly stared at the Spirit Beast sect's city gate and shouted, "Ling Zhenfeng bastard, your grandfather Xiao Hun is here to destroy your sect. Come out and accept your death." Rumble. Just as he shouted, a muffled thunder seemed to fall from the sky. A huge palm print appeared in the void. It was as if Buddha's 5 fingers mountain had descended to the world. It flew towards them with a violent true qi. "Xiao, you're courting death." Rumble. The huge palm print landed on the ground, creating a 10-meter-long crater. Xiao Hun and the other two sect masters had already left. They stood at the edge of the crater and looked at the sky. 3 black figures shot out like arrows. The moment they landed, the ground beneath their feet cracked. Xiao Hun's expression changed. He shouted, "Xie Qingping? Seeking arts? You 2 old farts are here too? Sure enough, you guys want to fight to the death." Xiao Hun clearly misunderstood Ling Zhenfeng and the other 2 sect masters' intentions. Ling Zhenfeng said angrily, "Xiao, you've already killed your way into my sect. Why are you still spouting so much nonsense? Tonight, only one of us will die." Both sides didn't understand the situation. They thought that the other party was going to fight to the death. The battle at the city gate was already heated. Blades flashed and swords flashed. Screams of agony could be heard. Chapter 1375. Ling Chong and the other great elders flew out from the Spirit Beast sect. Ling Chong was about to land when he was so shocked by Xiao Hun's words that he almost fell. Before he could even open his mouth to curse, Ling Zhenfeng suddenly shot him a fierce look. "Ling Chong, you actually colluded with Ji Chen in secret. To think that I have always treated you well. Your conscience has been eaten by a dog." Ling Chong looked gloomy as he explained. "Sect leader Ling, don't believe that old fart Xiao Hun's nonsense. I haven't even gotten married or had children, so how could I have any illegitimate children?" The situation was chaotic, and Ling Jinfeng didn't have the time to judge whether Ling Chong was speaking the truth or not. He saw that he and the other two sect leaders had distanced themselves from Ling Chong, as if they were guarding against a thief. Ling Chong was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. He sent a palm towards Qiao Hun. "How dare you slander my reputation? I'll fight you to the death." Rumble. As a great elder of Qi Stage 7, Ling Chong's palm was extremely powerful. His palm had just struck out in the air, and a strong gust of wind blew in all directions. It was as if a mountain was falling from the sky. Qin Feng's expression changed drastically. He didn't even have the chance to escape from this palm. A black shadow shot towards the sky. Qin Feng felt his body lighten. It was Qiao Hun's punch. Before everyone could react, a loud sound came from the sky. The moment the fist and palm collided, it was as if two fighter jets had collided in the sky. "A mere Qi Stage 7 dares to behave atrociously in front of me? Get out of my way." Qiao Hun's angry roar came from the loud sound, as if thunder had fallen from the sky. A figure flickered in the night sky. It was unknown when Qiao Hun had already stood at the peak of the Spirit Beast Sect's city gate. Ling Chong had already landed on the ground in front of the city gate, creating a deep pit. This exchange was completed in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. Yet it had completely set off an unprecedented battle between exalted experts. Ling Jinfeng realized that he had misunderstood Ling Chong. He hurriedly sent a palm strike towards the sky, forming a palm print that was 100 meters long in the sky. Qiao Hun's expression turned cold. He didn't even try to dodge. With a tap of his foot, he shot forward like an arrow, punching a hole in the air in front of him. Rumble. When the two strongest sect masters clashed, even Bai Xingdou and the other three sect masters retreated 100 meters away. Huge explosions rang out one after another. In that simple exchange of blows, a row of the Spirit Beast sect's walls collapsed. There were no more obstacles inside and outside the courtyard, and the chaotic battle had completely begun. The elders of the two sects were engaged in a fierce battle. Blades and swords flashed, and flames soared to the sky. Ling Jinfeng and Qiao Hun were too powerful. In order to avoid harming the disciples of the same sect, the two of them had already flown to the valley thousands of meters away and started fighting. The other four sect leaders were also fighting. Every time they collided, it was as though the mountains were going to collapse and the earth was going to crack. Looking at the intense battlefield, Qin Feng sneered inwardly. This time, his plan to sow discord was more successful than he had imagined. He didn't even need to sow discord. The sacred sects between the two cities had already formed too much enmity. Now when enemies met, blood would be especially red. The battle was too fierce. There were as many experts on the battlefield as there were clouds in the sky. Even though Qin Feng was at the 5th stage of true Qi, he could only be considered to be in the middle to upper echelons of the crowd. Moreover, he couldn't circulate the true Qi in his body right now. He hurriedly stepped on his flying sword and rushed inside the Spirit Beast sect. His main mission tonight was to rescue the Spirit Beast Master Qiao clan. Ji Chun Yu Luoquan, Yin Hoshan, you guys really dare to fight to the death? Then Laozi will fulfill your wish today. Release the demonic beasts. Ling Jinfeng's angry roar came from thousands of meters away, but it clearly reached the ears of every disciple in the Spirit Beast sect. For a moment, the roar in the Spirit Beast sect was like thunder. Suddenly, hundreds of wild beasts jumped out of the sect. Black bears, cheetahs, flying birds, demonic apes, elephants, wild boars, bulls. There were many kinds of beasts, and they covered almost all types. Riding on the backs of the beasts was a disciple of the Spirit Beast sect, who controlled the beasts to fight. The disciples of Meteor City were immediately stunned. They had long heard that the Spirit Beast sect was famous for hunting and taming beasts, but this was the first time they were actually fighting against the Spirit Beast sect. Now that this army of beasts had appeared, they had an unstoppable force that swept through a large group of people in an instant. Seeing Ji Chun and a few of the little elders being killed by the demonic beasts, Qiao Hun's eyes turned bloodshot. He grabbed the long blade on his back and leaped into the air, swinging it towards the center of the army of beasts. Rumble. Hundreds of meters of purple blade qi descended from the sky, as if splitting the earth into two halves. The dozens of ferocious beasts under the blade qi immediately exploded into pieces of flesh and blood. Blood flowed like a river. It was incomparably cruel. The battle outside the city was getting more and more intense, but Qin Feng had already sneaked into the inner area of the Spirit Beast sect. There were actually some disciples patrolling and guarding the place. Even though the battle outside was so intense, they didn't come out to help. Who's sneaking around? Come out and accept your death. An angry roar sounded out. Qin Feng jumped into a courtyard, and as soon as he landed, he was surrounded by dozens of guards holding long spears. Qin Feng quickly sized them up. These people were all at the 4th or 5th stage of true qi, and he wasn't confident that he could kill so many of them in one go with his flying sword. Who's the leader here? Qin Feng pretended to be calm and swept his cold gaze across the crowd. A tall and sturdy man stepped forward and shouted coldly, "Who are you, brat? Why haven't I seen you before? Could you be the enemy of Meteor City?" As the man spoke, he pointed his long spear at Qin Feng. The other dozens of people also took a step back and held on to their long spears, ready to attack at any time. "How dare you? I'm the little elder sent by the Spirit Beast sect to hide in Jichun. It's normal that you haven't seen me before. Now that the sacred gate of Meteor City is attacking the Spirit Beast sect at night, sect leader Ling Zhenfeng sent me here to check on the situation of the Spirit Beast sect. Quickly bring me over." Qin Feng's words sounded like the truth, and the group of guards were all stunned. The sturdy man leading the group questioned, "You say you're a little elder, and we should believe you? When did the Spirit Beast sect have such a young elder like you?" Qin Feng looked to be in his early 20s, and the youngest elder of the Spirit Beast sect was in his 40s, which aroused the suspicions of the crowd. But at this moment, a few black shadows flashed on the roof. It turned out that a few elders of Jichun had charged in. "Not good, the enemy is here, everyone kill quickly." Qin Feng's reaction was the fastest. As he spoke, a pink light shot out from his body. The speed of the flying sword was too fast, and even the guards couldn't see clearly what was going on. All they saw was a man falling from the roof, and his chest was pierced through. That huge bloody hole sent chills down their spines. "Senior brother Ling Bai, that person is wearing the uniform of Ji Chen's sect." A guard cried out in alarm. The leader of the guards, Ling Bai, was startled and looked at Qin Feng with gratitude. "This really is our little elder. Everyone, follow the little elder and kill the enemy." Qin Feng ran back and forth in the courtyard, and from time to time, he would take out his flying sword and kill someone. The guards of the Spirit Beast sect completely believed Qin Feng's identity. If Qin Feng was the enemy of Meteor City, why would he kill Ji Chen's disciple? Both sides were evenly matched. Seeing that it was going to be another fierce battle, Qin Feng didn't dare to waste any more time. He pulled Ling Bai to a hidden corner of the house. "Elder Ling, what are you doing?" Ling Bai was fighting fiercely, and he didn't understand Qin Feng's intention. "Don't care about the enemy. Quickly bring me to the place where the Spirit Beast Masters are imprisoned. The sect master has ordered that those people must be safely transferred out, or else the Spirit Beast sect will have a hard time developing in the future." Qin Feng's words woke Ling Bai up. Half of the reason why the Spirit Beast sect was able to develop to this extent was because of the Spirit Beast Masters. They helped the Spirit Beast sect to hunt and tame beasts, which made the Spirit Beast sect's power several times stronger. If these people were killed by the enemy, even if the Spirit Beast sect won the battle, it would gradually decline in the future. "Elder Ling, quickly follow me." After Ling Bai thought through the pros and cons, he hurriedly brought Qin Feng away. The two of them passed through a few small paths and finally arrived in front of a stone prison made of bricks. "Elder Ling, the Spirit Beast Masters are imprisoned in the first underground level. Go in and bring them out. I will stand guard at the door." Qin Feng was very satisfied with Ling Bai's suggestion. Before he left, he even patted Ling Bai's shoulder and praised him. Ling Bai had an excited smile on his face and was immersed in his own fantasies. He felt that he had made a great contribution this time, and would definitely be promoted by the sect master after this. The stone prison was dim and damp. There were oil lamps on both sides of the stone walls. There were also disciples guarding here, but they didn't stop or question Qin Feng. They stood there like stone pillars. Roar, roar. Just as Qin Feng walked to the first underground level, a wild beast's roar came from inside. The roar sounded a little angry and painful. The beasts were used to freedom, but they were imprisoned in this stone prison that never saw the light of day. Naturally, they wouldn't surrender. The underground level of this stone prison was very large, and was divided into two areas. The path on the left was filled with the roar of beasts. It was probably where the beasts were imprisoned. The right was quieter and there was a familiar aura. Qin Feng hurried to the right. Everyone be careful. The disciples of Spirit Beast sect are here. As soon as Qin Feng entered, he heard the sound of iron chains colliding. This place was divided into dozens of cells, and each cell held 3 to 5 men and women. They mistakenly thought Qin Feng was a disciple of Spirit Beast sect. They all glared at Qin Feng with angry and murderous eyes. There are sounds of fierce fighting outside. I think someone is attacking Spirit Beast sect. Are you here to ask for our help? Don't even think about it. We won't go out. Bastard, get out of here. Do you believe I won't control a demonic beast to bite you to death? The people imprisoned here were indeed from the Qiao family. Their clothes were tattered, and their bodies were covered with blood stains. Their hair was messy, and their skin was sallow. It was obvious that they had been tortured by Spirit Beast sect for years. Qin Feng swept his eyes over the people in the cell. His eyes were wet. Every one of them was Qiao Shishir's family. Seeing them being treated so cruelly, Qin Feng felt very upset. The shouting and cursing gradually quieted down. These Spirit Beast masters realized something was wrong. Chapter 1376. Hey, what are you doing here? Someone in the cell closest to Qin Feng asked. The man was in his early 50s and looked similar to Qiao Shishir. Qin Feng asked agitatedly, Who are you to Qiao Shishir? As soon as he said this, the noisy cell suddenly became so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. The man's expression changed drastically. The men and women in the other cells also became agitated. They all rushed to the cell door and grabbed the iron bars tightly while glaring at Qin Feng. What did you do to Shishir? You've also captured Shishir? I'm going to kill you. Let me out now. The middle-aged man who asked the question suddenly seemed to have gone crazy. He pulled the iron bars on the cell door with all his might. However, no matter how hard he tried, the iron bars did not respond at all. Don't be anxious. I'm not a disciple of the Spirit Beast sect. I'm Shishir's boyfriend. Qin Feng realized that he was misunderstood and quickly revealed his identity. The people who were going crazy were stunned again. They looked at Qin Feng in disbelief. They did not know whether this person was telling the truth or not. Don't try to lie to me. You can't be Shishir's boyfriend because Shishir is not even in this land. The man was stunned for a moment, and suddenly came to his senses. Qin Feng had already confirmed that the people imprisoned here were members of the Qiao family. He quickly explained, I really am Shishir's boyfriend. I came to the divine land from the outside world to save you guys. Not long ago, the formation to enter and exit the Forbidden Land was loosened. The Spirit Beast sect took Qiaogong's second uncle out. Shishir and I saved Qiaogong. When I found out that you guys were imprisoned here, I rushed over. Qin Feng's words stunned everyone. They felt like they were dreaming. However, after a while, the dream was still there. Everyone woke up one after another. This was not a dream. This was real. The man was so excited that his body trembled. When he looked at Qin Feng, his expression suddenly softened. He looked at Qin Feng as if he was looking at his own son. He said, What's your name? I'm your father-in-law. I'm Shishir's father, Teacher Qiao. Qin Feng was shocked. He rushed to Teacher Qiao and grabbed his hand. He said, Father-in-law, I'm Qin Feng. Don't worry. I'll get you guys out now. Qin Feng had already retreated a few steps. The Qiao family members were still in a daze. When they were first captured, Shishir was only a few years old. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, she already had a boyfriend? Furthermore, Shishir's boyfriend was too powerful. He actually entered a hopeless situation from the outside world, and even killed his way into the Spirit Beast sect. Could it be that the sounds of intense fighting outside were the helpers that Qin Feng brought? Before everyone could figure out what was going on, they heard a loud explosion. In an instant, A pink light flashed, and the prison door that Qiao Shi and the others were locked in suddenly collapsed to the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded once more. Swish, swish, swish. For a moment, the sound of swords rang out in the cell. No matter how hard the iron door of the prison cell was, it could not block the sharpness of the starry sky flying sword. The pink light flickered incessantly, and in the blink of an eye, more than a dozen prison doors were pierced through. Everyone ran out, but they stared blankly at their surroundings. Until now, they had not completely recovered from their shock. Free? Are we really free? Master Qiao asked uncertainly. This was also the question in the hearts of all the Qiao family members. They had been locked in this prison cell for more than 20 years, and every day, they dreamed of escaping. Now that they were really out, they found it hard to accept. Father-in-law, we are not completely free yet. Right now, the 3 sacred gates of Distant Ice City and the 3 sacred gates of Meteor City are fighting fiercely. My plan is to wait for both sides to suffer and then reap the benefits. Qin Feng quickly explained the current situation and his plan. Master Qiao stared at him with an excited expression. For the past 20 years, Master Qiao had missed his daughter day and night, and was worried about her safety. Now that he saw his son-in-law, Master Qiao was 100% satisfied. He knew that his daughter would be very happy with Qin Feng in the future. Even if he died now, he could die in peace. Good son-in-law, you know the situation outside better than us. Right now you call the shots, and everyone will listen to your orders, Master Qiao shouted. The Qiao family members woke up one after another. They had already understood the current situation, and they unanimously surrounded Qin Feng. Grandson-in-law, I am Shirshi's grandfather. I am very satisfied with you, young man. I am relieved that Shirshi is with you. Oh right, are Shirshi and Qiaogong well? Didn't they come with you? There are many experts in the Spirit Beast sect. It won't be easy for us to defeat them, but don't be afraid. Our Qiao family can control the minds of the beasts. Now that everyone is free, we can control the beasts to help you fight. Everyone talked at once, and a rare smile appeared on their faces. Qin Feng answered everyone's questions one by one, and explained the plan in detail. The Qiao family members immediately agreed. Their lives were saved by Qin Feng, and Qin Feng was Shirshi's boyfriend. They had long treated Qin Feng as family. On this side, Qin Feng led everyone and waited for an opportunity to move. The battle outside was at its most intense. After a fierce battle, both sides suffered heavy casualties. There were less than 30 people who could continue fighting. The sect masters of the 6 major sects were also injured. Xiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng were standing on top of a building 100 meters apart. Xiao Hun's abdomen was hit by Ling Jinfeng's palm, and the true qi in his body was already chaotic. Now he could only use 50% of his strength. Ling Jinfeng wasn't any better. One of his arms was directly cut off by Xiao Hun, and it was still bleeding. Xiao Hun, is this the result you want? You want to take over my spirit beast sect's land with that little strength of yours? Even if I die in battle, I will drag you down with me. Every time Ling Jinfeng saw that severed arm, he would fly into a rage. Until now, he still thought that Xiao Hun wanted to fight to the death. Xiao Hun had suffered internal injuries, and he already felt that today was a bad day. He was even angrier than Ling Jinfeng. If it wasn't for the Spirit Beast sect wanting to fight to the death, how could he be forced to this point? You old fart, you still refuse to admit it? I will kill you with one slash. Xiao Hun leaped up again. Even though he only had half of his strength left, his speed was still astonishing. In just a few breaths, he had already arrived above Ling Jinfeng's head. The large blade in his hand did not have any fancy moves, and he swung it down. Boom. The air in front of him instantly exploded. This slash was comparable to the full power of a true Qi Stage 6 revered martial artist. Ling Jinfeng's expression changed greatly. His right arm was severed, and he had no choice but to send out his left palm. However, the aura of the palm wind was obviously weakened by half, but it still condensed into a huge palm print in the air. 2 violent waves of true Qi collided in the air, and it was as if thunder had exploded, causing the entire valley to shake. The blade Qi penetrated the palm print and landed on Ling Jinfeng's chest, leaving behind a long blade wound. Xiao Hun didn't have it any better. After being hit by the palm print, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood in the air. This was a battle where both sides were injured. Both sides were evenly matched, and it was either you die or I live. The two of them fell to the ground, and for a while, they couldn't even get up. On the other side of the battlefield, there were fewer and fewer people left standing on the ground. More than half of the great elders of the 6 major sects had died, and the remaining few people were hanging on with their last breath. The intense battle gradually subsided, and the earth quaking and mountains shaking no longer appeared. From the top of the mountain to the entrance of the Spirit Beast sect, the road that was a few hundred meters long was littered with corpses. Among them, there was no lack of beasts who had died tragically, and it was a scene of blood flowing like a river. Xiao Hun, if you surrender now, I can spare your life. After a long time, Ling Jinfeng's angry roar came from a huge pit, but his voice was clearly weaker than before. Xiao Hun laughed out loud. Haha, you want me to surrender? Dream on, it's not certain who will die yet. Xiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng were already strong arrows. They preserved their last bit of true qi and prepared to deal a killing blow. No one dared to act rashly. This sneak attack was very important, and a single mistake would mean death. The two of them turned from fighting to bickering. They didn't even know each other's exact location, but judging from the sounds, they were less than 50 meters apart. The sounds of fighting in the distance had completely stopped. Fairy Fan and the other 3 sect masters were still alive, and their conditions were the same as Xiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng. All of them were seriously injured. Xiao, I really don't understand. Why do you insist on fighting to the death? Now that both sides are injured, do you think you can still take down distant Ice City? Once the news spreads, the sacred sects from the other cities will immediately rush over. And you, Ji Chun, and my Spirit Beast sect will be finished. Ling Jinfeng was still feeling depressed, and he felt that Xiao Hun's brain must have been flooded with water. Xiao Hun was furious. He couldn't be bothered to bicker with Ling Jinfeng, but now was the time to bicker. Ling Jinfeng, the battle has already reached this stage. Why the fuck are you still putting on an act? I have always wanted to fight the battle with experts, but it was your Spirit Beast sect who insisted on fighting to the death. Now do you know how powerful I, Ji Chun, am? Do you really think I am afraid of you? Ling Jinfeng was taken aback. It was fine if Xiao Hun didn't admit it, but now that things had reached this stage, there was no need for him to lie. You really didn't intend to fight to the death. Then how do you explain attacking my Spirit Beast sect in the middle of the night? Ling Jinfeng roared angrily. Xiao Hun was even angrier. Isn't this because of you? Your Spirit Beast sect disciples have already tipped me off, saying that you will lead a large force to attack me, Ji Chun, tonight, so I beat you at your own game, and attacked your Spirit Beast sect's base. Just as Xiao Hun finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed. He had already realized that something was wrong. Didn't Ling Chong's illegitimate son say that Spirit Beast sect would launch a sneak attack on Ji Chun tonight? But they were all guarding Spirit Beast sect. Ling Jinfeng's expression also changed. When did he say that he was going to attack Ji Chun at night? It was obvious that someone was playing tricks in the dark. Xiao Hun, what is the name of the Spirit Beast sect disciple you mentioned? Ling Jinfeng, do you have a plan to attack me, Ji Chun, tonight? Xiao Hun and Ling Jinfeng asked almost at the same time, but before they could answer each other, they heard the cry of a bird coming from the sky. A gigantic spirit bird soared high up in the sky. Its golden feathers were like burning flames in the night sky. Chapter 1377. The flaming golden eagle let out a long cry. Its speed was so fast that it was like a willow. The wisp flashing in the sky. Ling Jinfeng and Xiao Hun were so angry that their eyeballs widened. They felt as disgusted as if they had eaten a fly. As the sect masters with the highest status in the 2 cities, they didn't expect to be deceived by a mere county magistrate. The elders who were prepared to fight had already given up on the idea of fighting. Their gazes swept toward the sky in unison. Their gazes followed the flaming golden condor, and their faces were ferocious. They wished they could tear Qin Feng into pieces. Ayaya, we've all fallen for that brat's trick. Let's temporarily form an alliance and kill that brat first. Xiao Hun was so angry that he screamed. His roar was like thunder. Ling Jinfeng's face darkened. and he had already sent a palm strike towards the sky. Humph! A mere ant is just a matter of a palm strike. Instantly, a huge palm print appeared in the air. Ling Zhenfeng was indeed the sect master of the Spirit Beast sect. Even though he was seriously injured, his palm strike caused the air to explode. The palm print was so fast that it shot out like an arrow and directly hit the flaming golden eagle. Chirp! The golden eagle's scream came from the sky, and a large amount of its golden feathers fell off. A ray of pink light flashed and disappeared. Qin Feng had already escaped on his flying sword, but his heart was filled with shock. If the flaming golden eagle hadn't used its body to block Ling Zhenfeng's palm strike, his life would have been in danger. Qin Feng couldn't figure out Ling Zhenfeng's realm, but his palm strike was comparable to the full power of a true Qi Stage 6 revered martial artist. The flaming golden eagle's wings seemed to be seriously injured, and it didn't even have the ability to fly. It fell from a height of 100 meters. Buzz! A strange energy wave spread out. Seeing the golden eagle that was about to fall to the ground suddenly disappear, Xiao Hun and the rest were astonished. They were still waiting for the loud sound when it landed, but they didn't hear anything for a long time. That brat isn't dead yet, he actually has a flying sword. Ling Zhenfeng suddenly exclaimed. Xiao Hun's expression instantly changed. Everyone looked towards the night sky, and saw a ray of pink light appearing and disappearing. Wasn't it a pink flying sword? Who exactly is this brat? He actually got a rare piece of pink equipment? Xiao Hun was shocked. He couldn't understand Qin Feng anymore. Ling Zhenfeng did not care so much. His eyes glowed as he stared at the flying sword. Suddenly he sent out 2 more palm strikes. No matter who he is, he will definitely die today. Rumble! The 2 palms missed and landed on 2 mountain peaks, causing half of them to collapse. Ling Zhenfeng did not put Qin Feng in his eyes at all. He had already noticed that Qin Feng's body did not have any innate qi fluctuations. Even if Ling Zhenfeng was seriously injured, he had the confidence to kill an ant like Qin Feng with 1 palm. Xiao Hun quickly regained his senses. He raised his broadsword and chased after Qin Feng. Now that everyone had discovered Qin Feng's pink flying sword, they all wanted to take it for themselves. Xiao Yi hadn't died yet. He barely managed to sit on the ground. When he saw the pink flying sword flashing in the sky, his eyes were filled with shock. This flying sword was very similar to the flying sword used by the number 1 in the secular world, Qin Feng. Rumble! The battle, which had just calmed down, resumed once again. Xiao Hun was already high up in the sky. His saber slashed through the air, but it left a 100-meter-long crack in the ground. Qin Feng could not circulate his innate qi, so he could only use the flying sword to escape. The ground behind him kept cracking. The violent innate qi was rapidly approaching, making him anxious. You with the surname Qiao, you dare to trick me. I want you to die a horrible death. Xiao Hun already knew that he had been deceived by Qin Feng. He was furious, but as soon as he shouted, he felt that something was wrong. His surname was also Qiao. Rumble! However, Qin Feng casually shot out several fireballs. The destructive fire was ignited by the Flaming Wolf's demon core, and did not require innate qi to activate. Xiao Hun acted as if he did not see it, and rushed towards the fireballs. In the eyes of these innate qi experts, fire and ice were easy to deal with. These moves looked good, but they did not have much lethality. However, when the destructive fire landed on Xiao Hun's body, his expression suddenly changed. This fire was more than 10 times stronger than the raging fire of innate qi. It was almost at the level of the 10,000 beasts' true fire. The fire instantly ignited Xiao Hun's body, and it looked as if it wanted to burn everything. Xiao Hun threw his broadsword to the side and fell to the ground, rolling back and forth in pain. The crowd was stunned and looked at the scene in disbelief. That brat who did not even have innate qi actually defeated sect leader Xiao Hun? Soon the elders of Jichun came to their senses and hurriedly chased after Qin Feng. Xiao Ye's expression became more and more terrified. The fire of destruction was also very familiar. Wasn't it the fire that Qin Feng used in the secular world? However, this person didn't look like Qin Feng at all. Xiao Yi really couldn't figure it out. Rumble! Loud noises sounded in the distant sky. A new round of battle had begun. More than 10 elders of Jichun chased after Qin Feng. The elder of Spirit Beast sect also came to his senses. Just as he was about to attack, he was shocked and looked in the direction of Spirit Beast sect. A wild beast's roar came from inside. More than 10 spirit birds flew in the sky, and the ground was covered with a black mass of ferocious beasts. The ground shook violently from their running. Ling Zhenfeng, what's going on? Qiao Hun had already extinguished the fire and stared at Ling Zhenfeng with bloodshot eyes. Ling Zhenfeng and the elders of Spirit Beast sect were dumbfounded. They also did not understand the situation. A black shadow flashed and Ling Zhenfeng had already landed in front of the crowd. He stared at the beasts that were rushing over and roared. Teacher Qiao? How did you guys come out? You guys came at the right time. Spirit Beast sect has encountered a great enemy. Help me kill that brat on the flying sword first. Ling Zhenfeng did not know the situation and naively stood on the ground and gave orders. The army of beasts was getting closer and closer. Teacher Qiao was riding on a three-headed ice wolf and was the first to pounce in front of Ling Zhenfeng. Whoosh! He did not waste any time and controlled the three-headed ice wolf to leap into the air. The ice wolf opened its mouth and shot numerous ice at Ling Zhenfeng. The ice was like a sharp arrow under the night sky and instantly froze Ling Zhenfeng on the spot. Teacher Qiao's figure had already arrived. He pulled out a long sword from his waist and swung it down. Rumble! Before the sword light landed, the ice on Ling Zhenfeng's body suddenly exploded. This old man's strength was unfathomable. Even after losing an arm and messing up his true qi, he could still be so violent. The scattered icicles became sharp blades. Teacher Qiao was caught off guard and a few bloody holes were pierced through his thighs and arms. The Qiao clan members who rushed over roared in anger. Some people saved Teacher Qiao and even more people controlled the beasts to launch a fierce attack. Roar, roar, roar. The beasts that came out to battle this time were all demonic beasts. There were even a few spirit beasts among them. The roars of the beasts were earth-shattering. Instantly, the sky was filled with flames and ice. There were even a few spirit beasts that could release lightning. No matter how strong Ling Zhenfeng was, he was still scared off by this ferocious attack. He fled all the way to an empty valley thousands of meters away, and before those stunned little elders could figure out the situation, they had already died miserably under this wave of ferocious attacks. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The people who managed to survive were all truly powerful paragons. The sect leaders of the 6 great system-allocated sects gathered together, and there were more than 20 great sect elders around them. The number of casualties in the battle had been disastrous. The genius disciples had long since died like cannon fodder, and even the young sect elders had a hard time surviving. Among the remaining 20 people, the weakest was at the 6th level of true qi. The 6 sect masters had even stepped into the 8th level of true qi. However, they were all seriously injured. It was already rare for them to be able to use even half of their power. Surnamed Ling, I am really going to die because of you. Qiao Hun was so angry that he roared towards the sky. Even Bai Xingdou and Fairy Fan stared at Ling Zhenfeng with some resentment. In the face of everyone's reprimand, Ling Zhenfeng could not even retort. He did not expect the sudden change in the Spirit Beast sect. What's the use of saying all this now? Let's all work together and exterminate this group of beasts. Ling Zhenfeng shouted. Although he said that, everyone's eyes were filled with panic. That was an army of over 100 magical beasts and spirit beasts. If everyone was in peak condition, there was no need to be afraid. But now it was hard to say. I remember now. That kid is Qin Feng, the #1 martial artist in the secular world. Qin Feng. Qiao Yi, who had been silent, suddenly exclaimed. Everyone was shocked. They were not unfamiliar with this Qin Feng's name. Currently, he was being chased by all the sacred sects in the 8 major cities of the Divine Continent. What? He is Qin Feng? Why didn't you say it before? Did you do it on purpose? Isn't this kid in the outside world? How did he enter the Divine Continent? After Qin Feng's identity was exposed, everyone even forgot about the army of beasts that was surging towards them. Countless doubts arose in their hearts. Qiao Yi had a bitter expression. Feeling the killing intent shooting towards him from all directions, he hurriedly said, This kid changed his appearance. I couldn't recognize him at all. It was also the flying sword and flame that he used that made me suspicious. In addition to the betrayal of the Spirit Beast Sect's Spirit Beast Masters, I concluded that the kid was Qin Feng. He also controlled a group of beasts in the secular world. After Qiao Yi explained the situation, everyone was extremely shocked. It seemed like Qin Feng really came. But how did he enter the divine continent? This kid was truly savage. He dared to enter the extinction sect alone and start a massacre. Wasn't he a revered martial artist at the 5th level of true qi? Why was there no true qi in his body? Questions surged in their minds, but they had no time to think about it. The army of over 100 beasts had already advanced, and the dozen or so spirit birds in the sky all spat out a rain of flames. Rumble. Ling Jimfeng's palm instantly condensed into a huge palm print. 3 spirit birds were directly sent flying, and half of the sky's flames were extinguished. Don't think about it. Kill these people first. Ling Jimfeng's angry roar woke everyone up. More than 20 revered martial artists immediately launched a counterattack. They were currently heavily injured, so their first move was a killing move. That wave of attack was incomparably ferocious, and actually suppressed the army of beasts. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. High up in the sky, Qin Feng turned into a pink light that flickered endlessly. He already knew that his identity was exposed. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Not a single one of these people could be left alive. Qin Feng wanted to exterminate them all. Chapter 1378. Rumble. Suddenly, loud noises came from Qin Feng's body. Since his identity had been exposed, there was no need for him to hide anymore. He directly unleashed the system's trump card. A black shadow descended from the night sky. Golden Fur Lion King's golden hair danced wildly in the wind. As soon as he appeared, the Dragon Slayer saber in his hand struck down. The violent vital energy shocked the crowd. Rumble. Another 6 clouds of black fog appeared out of thin air. The golden ghost head talisman of the verdant sect's 5 kings was activated. The 5 clouds of black fog floated over like ghosts and shrouded Qiao Hun and the others. The crowd was instantly thrown into chaos. The already dark night was obscured by the aura of corpses. What the hell is this? I can't see anything. Who the hell slashed me? Go to hell. Sinhe, are you crazy? I'm Ling Chong. Loud noises came from the crowd. The verdant sect's 5 kings and one of the verdant sect's 5 kings were already mixed in the crowd. Their attacks could not kill these venerables, but it made them kill each other. No one could see clearly in the black fog. Qin Feng had already asked Xiao Shi and the others to retreat to the side and watch the fight quietly. Something's wrong. This black fog only interferes with our vision. There are no enemies nearby. Everyone stop. Qiao Hun quickly discovered the abnormality. The sounds of the fierce fight quickly stopped, but there were a few more corpses on the ground. The crowd was enraged. Qin Feng, I'm going to kill you. Qiao Hun was furious. He raised his saber and leaped into the sky. Ling Jimfeng also jumped out of the black fog and shouted to the crowd, everyone come out. The black fog can confuse one's mind. Under the night sky, more than 20 black shadows flickered continuously. They did not dare to stop. The black fog seemed to have grown eyes and was following them. Qiao Hun had already arrived in front of Qin Feng. He slashed down with his saber, drawing out 100-meter-long purple saber chi. However, Qin Feng did not need to counterattack. With a flash of golden light, the Golden Fur Lion King's violent saber slashed down. Rumble. The moment the 2 saber chi collided, it was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. The Golden Fur Lion King was sent flying. Qiao Hun's body was also sent flying, but he quickly steadied himself and leaped into the sky. Swoosh. There was a flash of pink light, and the cosmic flying sword pierced towards Qin Feng. It was as fast as lightning, but Qiao Hun easily dodged it. Then he slashed down with his saber, sending Qin Feng flying to the ground. Oh no, Qin Feng is injured. Someone from the Qiao clan shouted. Xiao Shi's expression changed drastically. He immediately controlled the 3 ice waves to fly over, but before they could reach him, several icicles fell from the sky. Stab, stab, stab. The icicles fell like sharp arrows, and the surrounding air suddenly dropped. The ground was covered with a layer of ice, as if they had fallen into a world of ice and snow. Xiao Hun sprinted across the icy ground, but his speed was noticeably slower. He ignored Xiao Shi, who was rushing towards him, and suddenly leaped into the air, slashing his sword towards Qin Feng, who was in the deep crater. Rumble! The saber qi extended, creating a 100-meter-long crack in the ground. However, an ice wall suddenly condensed above the deep pit. Cracks appeared on the ice wall and spread rapidly. In just a few breaths, the entire ice wall suddenly exploded. Brat, let's see how long your life is. Xiao Hun swung his blade again. Xiao Shi didn't even have time to control the 3 ice wolves to spit out ice. The saber qi condensed into a 100-meter-long solid saber. Explosions rang out incessantly, and many people stopped their attacks to look over. The elders and sect leaders of the holy sects smiled coldly, and the Qiao clan was so scared that their faces turned pale. Rumble! A loud explosion rang out, and the commotion was shocking. It didn't seem like the aura of Xiao Hun's slash at all. In the dark of the night, there was a sudden explosion of sparks, as beautiful as fireworks. Xiao Hun's figure had long since disappeared, reduced to flesh and blood in the explosion. A pink light shot out from the deep crater, flickering under the night sky. This unforeseen event happened too quickly, so much so that everyone was still unclear about the situation. Was Qin Feng dead or not? Where did sect leader Xiao Hun go? No good, that brat isn't dead. He brought the Wuxia secular world's firearms to the despair gate. Xiao Ye's scream rang out in the silent night. The expressions of the crowd changed drastically. They knew very well what firearms in the Wuxia secular world represented. In the Great War years ago, it was firearms that drove them back to the despair gate. Rumble! As if in response to Xiao Ye's speculation, a loud explosion rang out, as if the sky was filled with muffled thunder. A ball of fire flickered in the night sky, and several fire cloud cannonballs flew over, like shooting stars falling from the heavens. Rumble! The cannonballs landed on the ground, and the whole valley shook. There were a few elders in the crowd who were still in a daze, but in the next moment, they were blasted into smithereens. The sect leaders of the 5 major sects had already dodged, but they were also sent flying by the aftershock of the explosion. They didn't know what kind of firearms it was, but they were deeply shocked. The power of this weapon was comparable to an all-out attack from a true Qi Stage 6 martial artist. Loud explosions rang out one after another, and it was as if there was an earthquake in the vicinity of Spirit Beast sect. A few mountain peaks collapsed, and even the beasts were shocked. Their roars shook the heavens, rising and falling one after another. The Qiao family looked at the sky in shock, and they could vaguely see Qin Feng's figure. He stood on the starry sky flying sword and hovered in mid-air. He wore a set of domineering battle armor the color of the moon, but he carried a fiery red cannon on his shoulder. The few powerful cannonballs just now were fired from this cannon. The flying sword suddenly moved, and its speed was as fast as a shooting star. Qin Feng chased after Qiao Yi and the others who were escaping. He aimed the cannon barrel and fired 3 shots without hesitation. It was as if the moment the shots were fired, a deep pit appeared on the ground. Qiao Yi, Fan Yu, and Bai Qi were already heavily injured. Under the fierce attack of the cannonball, the 3 of them had no chance of survival. They didn't even have time to dodge, and could only watch as their bodies were blasted into pieces. On the other side were the few great elders of Meteor City, who were escaping. Unknowingly, Qin Feng was already hovering above their heads. He fired the fire cloud cannon, and in the blink of an eye, 3 true Qi Stage 6 martial artists had fallen. The whole valley was riddled with holes, and it was as if a war had broken out. Qin Feng's eyes flickered with determination. He knew that this was only the beginning. That brat's weapon is too powerful. We must think of a way to eliminate him, or else we'll all die. Looking at the great elders falling behind them, Ling Zhenfeng and the other 4 felt fear in their hearts. In this battle, all the elders and disciples of the 6 major sacred gates had been eliminated, and even Xiao Hun had been killed. Only the 5 sect leaders were left to hold on. Ling Zhenfeng's words received the approval of the other 4 sect leaders. They suddenly stopped and took the initiative to charge towards Qin Feng. The 5 of them were like 5 cheetahs shooting over. Even though they were heavily injured, their speed was still frighteningly fast. In just a few breaths, Ling Zhenfeng was already the first to strike with his palm. Instantly, a palm print enveloped the sky. A fire cloud cannon descended and instantly destroyed his palm print. The moment the cannon hit the ground, the plains within 100 meters were blasted into a deep pit. Ling Zhenfeng fell from the sky and directly fainted. Rumble. It was Ling Zhenfeng's attack that delayed some time, and the other 4 sect leaders attacked at the same time. Yuluochuan's fairy fan's horsetail whisk shook, and numerous sword rays enveloped the void. Bai Xingdou's sword pierced through the air, and 100-meter-long sword ray condensed in mid-air. Bai Tsong and Xie Qingping struck with their palms, and the Red Sun sect's seeking art also struck with his sword. The attacks of these 4 clashed in the void, and instantly, there was a violent explosion. It was a spectacular scene, as if the end of the world was coming. The Qiao clan's expressions became serious again. Teacher Qiao had already controlled the 3 ice waves to support, but there was another layer of ice wall in the void. It was not formed by the 3 ice waves, but by the extreme ice released by Qin Feng using the glacial snow mastiff's demon core. Rumble. Such a tough layer of ice was shattered in an instant, and the surging attack instantly enveloped Qin Feng. He quickly dodged on his flying sword, and at the same time, activated the super defensive ability of the Moon God armor. The flying sword was still a step too slow, and a loud sound exploded around him. The violent true qi seemed to be able to destroy the heaven and earth, and instantly knocked Qin Feng to the empty ground 100 meters away. This attack was extremely fierce. After Qin Feng fell to the ground, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. The Moon God armor also dimmed, and it was almost shattered. That kid is injured, everyone go. Bai Xingdou roared angrily, and took the lead to fly. The other 3 sect leaders also followed closely behind, like 4 ghosts in the night. The Qiao clan also rushed towards Qin Feng. The group of beasts roared crazily, but they were still a step too slow. Before they could reach Qin Feng, they saw 4 black figures appear above Qin Feng's head. Bai Xingdou, Lady Fan, Seeking Art, and Xie Qingping. The 4 of them hovered in midair, each standing in a direction in the north, south, east, and west. A cold smile appeared on their faces, and their hands had already landed, as if they were going to kill Qin Feng in the next second. The sword light and palm wind condensed in midair, and the sound of wind breaking could be heard incessantly. Qin Feng lay in the deep pit, and it was difficult for him to even stand up. Seeing the surging attack land on his head, there was suddenly a loud sound, and a jet-black tank appeared out of nowhere. It was very inconspicuous in the night, and even ignored by the 4 sect leaders. The ferocious attack landed on the Black Dragon tank. The tank was made of some unknown material, and a series of loud clanging sounds could be heard from its surface, but it was not affected at all. Inside the tank, Qin Feng sat on the control panel. There were 4 dots on the screen, which represented Bai Xingdou and the other 3. Qin Feng's heart was burning with rage, and he immediately bought 100,000 hedonist points worth of artillery shells. The main artillery was already aimed at Bai Xingdou, and a dozen or so artillery shells appeared around the tank. Attack! Qin Feng pressed the launch button, and the dozen or so artillery shells fired at the same time. Instantly, the pitch-black night sky was lit up as if it was daytime. The artillery shells filled the sky, and the loud sound was endless. Bai Xingdou and the other 3 were shocked. They felt an unprecedented aura of death shrouding them, and they did not even have the chance to react before they exploded into flowers of blood in the air. The beast army that was rushing over was suddenly stunned, and they stopped 100 meters away from the tank, not daring to go any closer. The tank was too powerful, and in the blink of an eye, it killed 4 true Qi Stage 8 powerhouses. Even though the 4 of them were heavily injured, they were not that easy to kill. Boom. Rumble. Chapter 1379. 10,000 hedonist points worth of artillery shells were used up, and the entire spirit beast sect was razed to the ground. When Qin Feng put away the Black Dragon tank and looked around, he couldn't recognize this area anymore. The disciples, elders, and even sect masters of the 6 major sects were all killed. Ling Zhenfeng, however, was knocked unconscious by the aftermath of the fire cloud cannon and escaped. Teacher Qiao and the others had already rushed to Qin Feng's side. They hadn't recovered from the bombardment, and stared at Qin Feng in shock. Everyone looked around again, but they didn't see the mighty tank. They really didn't know where the tank came from. Qin Feng, are you alright? Teacher Qiao recovered with great difficulty and hurriedly checked on Qin Feng's injuries. The combined attack of the 4 sect masters wasn't simple. Even with the protection of the moon god armor, Qin Feng was still riddled with injuries. Teacher Qiao felt uncomfortable when he saw this. He took out a few pills and gave them to Qin Feng, but Qin Feng didn't take them. He didn't lack pills, and they were of a much higher grade than Teacher Qiao's pills. Father-in-law, Ling Zhenfeng isn't dead yet. I'll go kill him. Qin Feng took a few deep breaths and forced himself to kill Ling Zhenfeng. These people all knew his identity, so Qin Feng couldn't leave a single one alive. Teacher Qiao pulled Qin Feng to sit on the ground and let him recuperate. The Qiao family members had already gone to Ling Zhenfeng's side. For the past 20 years, the Spirit Beast sect had abused them like slaves. They lost their freedom and were forced to hunt and tame beasts. 20 years of anger exploded at this moment. Over 100 people surrounded Ling Zhenfeng and stomped on him. After they vented their anger, the beasts also rushed over and tore at them. Qin Feng felt that he was already very cruel to his enemies, but when he saw Ling Zhenfeng's fate, he realized how merciful he was. 10 minutes later, Ling Zhenfeng died outside the Spirit Beast sect. His body was torn into pieces by the beasts, and it was horrifying to look at. The Qiao family members had already returned to Qin Feng's side. Their faces revealed joy from the bottom of their hearts. Over 20 years of life as slaves had completely ended at this moment. It was a feeling of being reborn. Qin Feng, thank you for saving the lives of the Qiao family. Teacher Qiao suddenly knelt down on one knee, and the Qiao family members behind him all knelt down to worship Qin Feng. Qin Feng jumped in fright and hurriedly went to support Teacher Qiao. Father-in-law, you're cutting my lifespan short. Everyone, please get up. We're a family, so don't stand on ceremony with me. However, the crowd did not get up. They were clear about public and private affairs. Although Qin Feng was their junior, this time, Qin Feng risked his life to kill his way into the Spirit Beast sect from the outside world, and saved everyone's freedom. This matter moved the Qiao family very much, so they had to kneel and pay their respects. Seeing that no one was willing to get up, Qin Feng was a little anxious. His eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, "That's right, I'm now the new Beast King. I'll treat it as everyone worshipping the Beast King." Qin Feng found an excuse for himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to endure these elders kneeling to him. Xiao Shi and the others were shocked, and they stared at him in disbelief. "Qin Feng, why you're really the new Beast King?" Xiao Shi's voice was trembling. "Father-in-law, I found my father, Beast King Gu Chun, in Devil Beast Mountain in China's secular world. He has already passed the title of Beast King to me. Shi and second uncle Qiaogong also know about this. I won't lie to you." Everyone naturally believed Qin Feng's words. However, this news came too suddenly, and the Qiao family was a little shocked. The crowd gradually came to their senses, and the joy on their faces grew. Qin Feng was actually the new Beast King? They had been very optimistic about Qin Feng before. Qiao family, listen up. Worship Qin Feng as the Beast King. After Xiao Shi's order, everyone kowtowed. Qin Feng didn't stop them. He knew that the Qiao family's Spirit Beast Master clan had been around for hundreds of years. Everyone was born with the responsibility of guarding the Beast King. This was their belief, and Qin Feng respected this belief. Qiao family, listen up. In the name of the Beast King, I order you to rise. After everyone finished kowtowing, Qin Feng's voice was like a bell. The Qiao family stood up one after another. Their faces were still filled with joy. This was really double happiness. Not only did they obtain freedom, but they also found a new Beast King. It felt like a dream. However, Qin Feng's expression was still a little grave. Although they had won this battle, he knew that there were still many tough battles waiting for them. Lord Beast King, what's on your mind? Can you tell us so that we can share your burden? Xiao Shi cupped his fists respectfully toward Qin Feng. Qin Feng smiled and said, Father-in-law, don't call me Beast King. Just call me Qin Feng. Now that the main forces of Meteor City and Distant Ice City's 6 major sacred gates have been destroyed, there are still many scattered forces. We have to stabilize these 2 cities as soon as possible. Otherwise, the sacred gates of the other cities will definitely come to snatch them. Qin Feng voiced out his worries, and the Qiao family became solemn. Qiao Shishir nodded and said, Son-in-law Qin Feng, you are right. Right now the most important thing is to stabilize the 2 cities as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will end up like those people. Qiao Shishir's grandfather stood up and said, Qin Feng, you've been our leader for a long time. You know the situation better than anyone else. We, the Qiao family, are willing to protect you with our lives. Tell us what to do next. Qiao Shishir's grandfather stood up and said, Qin Feng, you've been our leader for a long time. You understand the situation better than anyone else. Yes. Lord Beast King, please give us the order. There were more than 100 people in the Qiao family. Most of them were at the 2nd or 3rd stage of true qi, and the strongest was only at the 4th stage of true qi. They did not focus on cultivation in the first place, but on their outstanding beast-taming skills. Qin Feng looked at the distant ice city under the night sky, and his eyes flickered. He thought for a moment and said, Father-in-law, divide everyone into 3 groups. One group will be responsible for subduing the remaining forces of the 3 sacred gates in distant ice city, the second group will subdue Meteor City, and the last group will settle the poor people in the 2 cities. No one objected to Qin Feng's order. In this battle, the Qiao family and the Beast clan had suffered the least losses. If they gathered their forces, they could easily take down a sacred gate at its peak. Qiaoshi was already busy, and the Qiao family was excited. They had been imprisoned for more than 20 years, and now they could finally come out and fight. Moreover, they could help the new Beast King in battle. The excitement they felt was indescribable. In the next few days, the Qiao family divided their tasks in an orderly manner. The spirit beast sect had been subdued that night, and now it was Qin Feng's territory. He had been seriously injured in the battle that night, so he stayed in the sect to recuperate. With the destruction of the spirit beast sect, the revenge mission related to Qiao Shishir was completed. The system awarded him 100,000 hedonist points, a purple rank spiritual equipment lottery ticket, a star technology lottery ticket, and a Palace of Heroes lottery ticket. Qin Feng also completed the first and second side missions of the City War chain mission. He had successfully stirred up the war, causing both Meteor City and Distant Ice City to suffer heavy losses. He had also protected the poor people and changed their minds. The rewards for these 2 missions were also very generous. There were a total of 100,000 hedonist points and a true qi pill. Qin Feng looked at his hedonist points in the system. He now had 1,919,000 hedonist points, which was close to the 2 million hedonist points needed to open the Immortal Island. Master, eat the true qi pill. Little Pig's voice sounded. Qin Feng had been cultivating for the past 3 days, but he hadn't recovered his true qi. Now that Little Pig reminded him, he moved his mind, and a milky white pill appeared in his palm. The pill was round and fragrant. It was as big as a goose egg, and there were 6 clear inscriptions around it. It was a 6th grade golden pill. Qin Feng skimmed through the introduction of the true qi pill. Its main effect was to recover true qi, which was just right for his current situation. Qin Feng swallowed the true qi dan without the slightest hesitation. Although this dan was huge, it actually melted in his mouth. Bursts of pill fragrance lingered in his mouth, and a clear qi flowed into his blood vessels, rippling throughout his whole body. Qin Feng felt his body heat up. He tried to circulate his true qi again. His originally unresponsive body gradually found a trace of connection. Although there wasn't much true qi, it circulated in his body under his control. As time passed, more and more true qi gathered. Finally, it all condensed in his dantian. A loud explosion sounded without warning. Qin Feng felt his body lighten. It was as if a heavy burden had been released from his body. Master, congratulations on breaking through to the 6th stage of true qi. Little Pig's excited voice sounded. Qin Feng was startled. He hurriedly felt his body, and his face immediately became pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect that the true qi pill not only recovered his true qi, but also helped him break through to the next stage. Boom! Qin Feng jumped up and struck out with his palm. The abandoned stone wall suddenly exploded into pieces, and the ground split open with a 10-meter-long crack. Many spirit beast sect disciples were scared and fled like rats. The sixth stage of true qi was much stronger than the fifth stage. Qin Feng thought that if he used all kinds of spirit weapons and cultivation methods, even if he fought a seventh-stage true qi expert, he wouldn't have to be afraid. Master, Golden Fur Lion King requests to fight. Seeing that Qin Feng had broken through again, Golden Fur Lion King anxiously jumped up and down in the system. He was his master's right-hand man, and he vowed to protect his master's safety with his life. Now that Qin Feng's strength was higher than his, he felt ashamed. Master, the density of spirit qi in the divine land is close to the density of Golden Fur Lion King, and the others in their era. Master can always leave them outside. This will help their cultivation. Little Pig reminded. Qin Feng was overjoyed. He immediately released Golden Fur Lion King, Shimen Chui Shui, and Ouyang Feng. Previously in the secular world of China, the three of them's magnetic field would be disturbed by the Earth's magnetic field, and their realms kept dropping. He didn't expect that in the divine land, they wouldn't have to worry about this problem. After the three of them came out, they began to cultivate like crazy. After Qin Feng took over the spirit beast sect, he discovered that there were too many pills and spirit weapons in the sect. However, the quality of those spirit weapons was too low. The highest was only a purple-grade spirit sword, which couldn't enter his eyes at all. Chapter 1380. The spirit energy in the divine great land was abundant, and the spirit energy in the sacred sects was even more abundant. The locations of the sacred sects were very particular. Most of them were hidden underground spirit veins or in the mountains and rivers. Under the efforts of Teacher Qiao and the others, the sects in Meteor City and Distant Ice City were stabilized. Most of the remaining disciples of the 5 major sects were normal disciples. Even if there were a few genius disciples, their strength would not exceed the 5th stage of true qi. Under the suppression of the beast race army, they would surrender at any moment. Qin Feng did not care about the subjugation of the 2 city sections. He had already guessed that Teacher Qiao and the others would not fail. He was more worried that the sacred sects of the other 6 major cities would attack. True experts would appear among those people. After several days of hard training, Qin Feng stabilized his strength at the 6th stage of true qi. The 3 heroes all broke through one stage. Ouyang Feng and Shimen Chui Shui stepped into the 1st stage of true qi, and Golden Fur Lion King stepped into the 5th stage of true qi. The speed at which the 3 heroes broke through was too fast. Qin Feng found it hard to accept. According to Little Pig, the 3 heroes had been around for a long time. They could have broken through a long time ago. It was just that Qin Feng stayed in the secular world of China, and the magnetic field there prevented them from breaking through. Now that they came to the divine great land, they naturally broke through. The thing that Qin Feng was most worried about happened. On the 7th day after he subjugated Distant Ice City and Meteor City, the border areas of the 2 cities were attacked by enemies. He had already arranged for the sect disciples and the beast race army to guard the entrances of the 2 cities. Fortunately, the first wave of enemies was not strong. The highest realm was only at the 5th stage of true qi. It seemed like they were here to scout for information. There were 2 entrances to Distant Ice City and Meteor City. Now that the 2 cities were united, and there were enemies eyeing them covetously, Qin Feng mobilized a large number of troops to seal off the entrance to Meteor City, leaving only the entrance to Distant Ice City open. He personally led the troops and formed the most elite orc army. He also brought the Golden Fur Lion King with him to attack Distant Ice City's only stronghold. On the 3rd day, Qin Feng saw 2 groups of people coming towards him. There were close to 100 people on both sides, but they were wearing different uniforms. Clearly, the 2 sects had joined forces to attack Distant Ice City. When Qin Feng fought with the Extinction sect's disciples on the surface of the sea in Acropolis City, he had a general understanding of the various sects in the Extinction sect. At this moment he also recognized the uniforms of these two sections. The team in purple was the Sky Cloud Sword sect's disciple, and the team in black and white was the Life and Death sect's disciple. Two groups of people stopped at the foot of the mountain, led by two old men in their early 50s. It seemed that they were the great elders of the sect. One of them shouted, "I am Elder He of the Heavenly Cloud Sword sect, and beside me is Elder Yen Sheng of the Gate of Life and Death. We are here to attack Distant Ice City with our disciples. If you are smart, surrender now, and we can spare your lives. We can even let you join our sects." The people on the mountaintop were infuriated by He's words. If Qin Feng hadn't given the order, Qiao Shi, Golden Fur Lion King, and Qiao Shi would have already killed them. Qin Feng sized up the two groups of people. Apart from the two elders He and Yen Sheng, the rest were ordinary disciples. It was not hard to tell that the Sky Cloud Sword sect and the Gate of Life and Death sect were eyeing Distant Ice City's territory. But they did not dare to cause a life and death struggle. They probably sent these people to scout the situation. If they saw that Distant Ice City was still powerful, they would definitely give up on the idea of attacking it. After analyzing the situation, Qin Feng sneered. He and Yen Sheng were only at stage 6 true qi. Now that Qin Feng had recovered his true qi and broken through to stage 6, he no longer cared about opponents of this level. "Are you sure you want to attack Distant Ice City? I'll give you a chance to escape, or all of you will die here." Qin Feng's voice spread from the mountaintop. His words were so domineering that it caused an uproar at the foot of the mountain. The hundreds of enemy disciples had sinister expressions. They wanted nothing more than to rush up the mountain and kill the arrogant Qin Feng. He and Yen Sheng's old faces darkened as well. They looked at the mountaintop angrily. He yelled, "Stinking brat, you're too arrogant. Tell me your name first. At least let me know who I'm going to kill later." Even though He was angry, he did not panic. He planned to ask Qin Feng's identity first before making a decision. The hundreds of disciples pricked up their ears. They wanted to know who this arrogant brat was. However, they heard Qin Feng say, "I'm just a nobody, an ordinary disciple of Distant Ice City's Holy Gate. However, I'm more than enough to deal with ants like you." The more Qin Feng spoke, the more arrogant he became. He and Yen Sheng were indeed enraged. They suddenly gave the signal to attack. The hundreds of disciples behind them leaped onto their horses and leaped up the cliff like hundreds of swallows in the dark night. Soon, a few of them were about to reach the mountaintop. Rumble! There was a loud explosion. In the dark night, dozens of spirit birds suddenly appeared on the mountaintop. They circled around the mountaintop with bright feathers. It was as if dozens of flames were floating in the night sky. For a moment, fireballs fell like rain. The disciples who had just reached the mountaintop were immediately surrounded by flames. Some were burned to death, and even more fell off the cliff and were smashed to pieces. He was infuriated by this scene and flew up the cliff with his sword in hand. Just as he reached the top of the mountain, he swung his sword a few times in the air. Instantly, a blue sword light enveloped the sky and forced the dozen or so spirit birds to retreat far away. Rumble! Yen Sheng's attack also landed. He had already jumped to the mountaintop and slapped with his palms. The mountaintop shook slightly and dozens of deep pits were blasted on the plains at the mountaintop. It was as if dozens of landmines had exploded underground. The battle officially started. Before Qin Feng could make a move, Qiao Shi and the others had already led the Beastmen army to launch a fierce attack. This group of Beastmen was carefully selected by Qin Feng. The lowest rank was a rank 2 magical beast. Their strength was comparable to experts at the 3rd stage of true qi. Suddenly, flames lit up the sky and loud noises rose and fell. Qin Feng's side had the advantage of the terrain. The group of ordinary disciples couldn't even reach the mountaintop. They were all shot down halfway up the mountain. He and Yen Sheng became more and more furious. At this time, they no longer held back. Every move they made was a killing move. The rank 2 magical beasts of the Beastmen army were beaten back, their bodies riddled with wounds. Stinking brat, you think you can defeat me with a few beasts? I will cut you into 1,000 pieces. He's roar shook the heavens. He thrust his sword towards Qin Feng. He saw that Qin Feng was young and thought that he was the weakest rookie in the enemy army. Without waiting for Qin Feng to make a move, a golden sword aura soared into the sky. The golden fur Lion King's roar shook the mountains. The Dragon Slayer saber had already collided with He Yi's sword in midair. The loud noise was deafening. The golden fur Lion King was only at the 5th stage of true Qi, but it was able to resist He Yi's sword. However, he still had the upper hand. He quickly swung his sword a second time. The golden fur Lion King's sword had only slashed halfway when it was pushed back to the plains at the mountaintop. Haha! This is the general you called for? He can't even withstand a single blow. I want to see what kind of backing you have now. In He Yi's eyes, the golden fur Lion King was the strongest person in the enemy army. Now that he had been pushed back, he no longer had any fear in his heart. He leaped and thrust his sword towards Qin Feng. The blue sword aura streaked across like a meteor, and instantly landed on the ground. However, Qin Feng was no longer there. The sword aura exploded into a huge pit on the ground. He Yi's expression changed greatly. He felt the aura of death coming from behind him. He immediately turned around and saw that Qin Feng had unknowingly floated behind him with a red spear in his hand. When the spear was thrust out, it was as if it had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Suddenly, thousands of spear auras shot out and he exploded in midair into a pile of flesh and blood. Bang, 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 bang. He Yi's body had already been smashed into pieces, but the loud noises in the sky were continuous. That red spear light was still flashing. It was as gorgeous as fireworks. The disciple who was climbing the mountain was suddenly stunned. He raised his head to look at the strange scene in the sky. He still couldn't figure out what was going on. You killed Taoist He? Yan Sheng was shocked. He stood at the peak of the mountain and saw Qin Feng's powerful spear attack with his own eyes. However, no one answered his question. Qin Feng's answer was not a sound, but a ferocious attack from the Storm Rainbow Demon Spear. Clang! That spear attack was light and casual, but it instantly condensed thousands of spear auras. Yan Sheng did not even have a chance to react before he exploded on the peak of the mountain. The disciples halfway up the mountain did not see how Yan Sheng died. They only heard the loud noises coming from the top of the mountain. Some of them even shouted innocently, "The two elders have used their ultimate moves. Everyone hurry up. How can those ants be a match for the two elders? Distant Ice City is already an empty city. Our Skycloud sword will become even stronger in the future." The group of disciples became excited in their own fantasies and increased their speed of climbing. Soon, a large group of disciples reached the top of the mountain. However, they were stunned on the spot. The scene of the two elders killing the enemy bravely did not appear in their minds. They scanned the top of the mountain, but did not see the two elders. The enemy seemed to be unharmed, and a group of ferocious beasts were staring at them as if they wanted to swallow them alive. You should surrender now. Once Taoist He and Elder Yan attack, it will be too late even if you want to surrender. Everyone realized that the situation was not right, but they still pretended to be calm. Qin Feng sneered and waved his hand. Immediately, a golden saber aura that was hundreds of meters long condensed in front of him. The golden phoenix landed on the ground and split the entire mountain in half. The disciples standing at the edge of the cliff all fell down and were smashed to pieces. Oh no, two elders have been killed. Everyone run for your lives. There were still a dozen disciples with the weakest strength who had only climbed halfway up the mountain. Their good-for-nothing had actually saved their lives. These people did not dare to climb up anymore. When they saw their senior brothers fall from the peak, they were so scared that they immediately fled. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.